All right. Hi, everyone. That was unexpected. I was trying to get some details about the game. I'll just delete the old video and I'll maybe run through my introductory remarks a little bit quicker this time around. I get two takes. um, yeah, so first of all, if you were coming here looking for Old World, I do apologize. I know I kind of suggested that I might be playing that today, and I just love that game to death, so I'm really looking forward to doing more of it. But it did occur to me that finishing the campaign that I was on, excuse me, on Friday, and then starting a new session on Monday with, potentially two or three streams in between before I'd get to the next one, maybe didn't make as much sense as I sort of thought at the time, or maybe just didn't think at all. So in this case here, I thought that changing the schedule around would maybe make a bit more sense. In general, I think what I'd like to do is have Old World become the Monday game. I don't think Stellaris is going to be a thing, but for the time being, just sort of whatever my intentions, it seems to be that that Old World sort of wound up on the Fridays, and why force it to another slot if things are working out that way. Of course, yesterday we did a special stream but of course, with that in mind, I do apologize for those of you who are expecting Old World. That will definitely be coming up later this week, most likely Friday. But I hope you stick around for this game, because as I sort of said in the tweet, I think it'll probably be obvious to a number of you why I think this is a very interesting game and one I was really looking forward to try out. But I do have a couple things I need to get out of the way on this one, too. So this game is new to me, and this is a new game, so it was released on last Thursday, May 26th. I noticed actually that it's got mixed reviews at the moment. I don't really like viewing reviews too carefully, but I have a feeling that now would be not a bad time to sort of give this thing a shot, because I noticed that there's a post that kind of came out talking about the feedback and wanting to action on it. But of course, the orange text on Olaf, how you doing? Orange text on Steam does sometimes mean that fewer people wind up buying a game. And so in this case here, this is one of the reasons why I'm actually trying to do this game a little bit earlier, which is that for people who might be connecting with this game and would really enjoy it, it's all that more important that the people who do enjoy something like this connect with it and, be able to have their voice kind of come in. I don't know how many of you know this, but when it comes to Steam, basically it's people who have bought the game through Steam whose sort of votes count the most. Votes aren't counted equally on Steam. But I do need to admit, I am a little bit of a guest in terms of this series, because it does seem that out there is a game. So there's kind of a game before called Out There, and this is a follow-up to it. I was under the impression that there might have been a second game, but it just, when I take a look at the Steam page, it's just selling me Out There and the game that I'll be playing tonight, Out There Oceans of Time. But with that in mind, it is also worth mentioning here that I was given a key by the developer. Now, this is through a service called Uvit, or Uvit, or however you pronounce it. So I don't know if I need to credit Miklos or Modern Wolf, who I sort of tagged on the tweet, but it looks actually there's a few other names on here. So Goblins, Fractal, and Whisper Games. Whoever I need to credit for the key, thank you very much for that. But as is always true with these keys, it's important to disclose this stuff up front. So I am playing a copy of the game that was given for promotional purposes, which is something that's been true for a while on a few of the games here lately. And I'm sorry to sound like a broken record on these things, but better for you to know and decide what that means for you than to find out after the fact and feel hard done by. So I'm just trying to load up the game right now. Now, doing Songs of Conquest. Oh. I thought I had this all. There we go. Trying to sort this all out. So obviously there's a lot on my plate lately. So we did Songs of Conquest on Sunday. One thing I will just mention, I am going to need a while to sort of properly figure out my schedule. So, and I suspect that some of these games there might be a benefit to more continuity than another. So one thing that's helpful for me is if you're interested in something, definitely speak up. So if you want to see more out there, if you want to see more Songs of Conquest, you want to see more Old World or Starflight or, any of these others, it helps me to know. Incidentally, this is my chance to test the volume level. So if I'm getting drowned out by the game, please let me know. But I was just going to say, it's my job to kind of put on a show, and I don't want to imply that it's anybody's, responsibility to let me know what they're interested in. But I am definitely feeling a little overwhelmed. Some of this stuff just kind of caught me unexpectedly. There's some stuff that I wasn't expecting to hear back from, and it all just sort of piled on at the same time, which is not necessarily bad, right? It's wonderful to have lots of variety, and I've been delighted to notice a few of you have actually wound up picking up some of the games, or at the very least have been wish listing them, which is always encouraging, because obviously it means that the game's finding its audience, and it's interesting enough for people to maybe give it a try on their own. But I do also need to acknowledge the fact that I want to do well by these keys, and I also want to do well by you. So if there's something you want to see more, I don't necessarily mind doing sort of a solid block of one thing and then setting that aside for a little while to get back to another thing. Or if you just sort of like having little, bits and nibbles as we go along, I'll try and, get a read on what people are interested in. But I just also wanted to sort of set the table, particularly with this game having, mixed reviews on Steam. I don't want the idea that a game, I play a game once and then it's kind of gone for a couple of days to be an indicator of me not necessarily liking it. I generally kind of say if something's not working for me, but I'm also pretty easy to please, so I haven't really played a lot of games that I don't enjoy. But yeah, with that in mind, I did want to just kind of get that out of the way at the start. Unless this thing really kind of doesn't connect with me, but I kind of wouldn't have asked for a key if I didn't think it would fit. There will definitely be some more of this, and I think it's a little roguelike-ish. But I may have to sort of jump between other sessions because I'm feeling a little cramped in the schedule, and it'd be nice to clear out a few things. So, having spent almost 10 minutes leading this up, one other thing I just wanted to say, I won't say what the game is, but I'd be interested, for those of you who are regulars, to see if you can find any parallels with a game that I was recently playing, because there's certainly one that I sort of thought, I don't know if this thing is sort of an homage to it, but I'm certainly getting some of the feelings that were really interesting about that particular game. So we'll jump into the game and you can see for yourself and see if the analogy is correct. I should mention I did put this on my hard drive, so I don't know if longer loading times are a feature of the game for everyone. Well, this is feeling unusually long. Century 21. Earth's sun is suddenly inexplicably extinguished. Humanity flees a dying Earth aboard great arcs, seeking refuge on distant and isolated worlds. After journeys that span thousands of years, some arcs succeed in creating new, permanent civilizations. Others lose their way and disappear into the sun. Okay. Humanity once thought itself as the only intelligent species in the galaxy. They were mistaken. The entire galaxy was governed by the God Cubes, all-powerful entities that have taken it upon themselves to unite all species, abolish violence, and end the concept of territoriality. But not everyone worships these beings. A persuasive genetic chameleon, a member of the Lord's race, calling itself Archon, rises up against its own creators to put an end to the God Cube something. The Archon's rebellion has the desired effect. It destabilizes the order established by the God Cubes. After a fierce pursuit, the Archon is captured. It is entrusted to Nyx, captain of the Vanguard, to be brought to the Mausoleum of Eternity, a prison world. The Vanguard and its crew are now approaching their destination. They are about to accomplish their important mission. Go check the engines. At this pace, we won't arrive before the next solar cycle. I must say, Captain, I've never met anyone who is actually eager to reach the Mausoleum of Eternity. We're delivering a prisoner, not getting locked up ourselves. Why should I be concerned? The deadliest beings in the galaxy are imprisoned there, all together in the same place. Don't tell me you're not even a little afraid. It's mostly boredom that scares me. Once we hand the Archon over to the Mausoleum authorities, I hope to mark the end of my thrilling career as a transporter. You don't have a family waiting for you? My family is my crew and my ship, Officer Sergei, and I can't see myself staying at home when there's a whole galaxy full of mysteries out there. I must confess that I know little outside of the organization. I envy you being able to choose your missions, to travel wherever you want. It's how you grow, Officer, by testing yourself, facing worlds and life forms that you never could have imagined. There are risks, of course, but I'd rather that than die ignorant or bored. Crew told me about some of your exploits. They say you live without fear. Being afraid is not the problem. We just can't show it, not when the survival of others depends on us. You will come to understand after a few more centuries of experience. Captain, 3 unknown spacecraft approaching at high velocity. Who are they? Get me an ID now. Our scans show that they wear the colors of the Archon. They're here for their leader. Full power to engines. They must not be allowed to catch up. Captain, we have a problem. The interplanetary thruster isn't responding. Our engineers are trying to fix it, but the unknown ships are gaining on us. This can't be happening. Not now, of all times.
Equipment damaged.
This is the ship's cargo hold. Here you can build, repair, and organize your technologies, modules, and resources. The interplanetary reactor is damaged. You must repair it before the ship can continue its journey. Select the interplanetary reactor to access its menu. Ship reactor capable of interplanetary travel, and in this case we want to fix it. Anticipating the need for our resources is crucial throughout your journey, so that you can always repair your ship and avoid worst case scenarios. So presumably this is related to our travel. We want to make sure we always have some carbon on the ship. The thruster's back online, but we've lost fuel and the ships are entering attack range. I wonder, how did the Archon manage to contact them? Surely the Archon had a working network long before its war against the Lords. It must have transmitted its location just before capture. They've been tracking us ever since. A network? Who'd be crazy enough to ally with such a destructive being? Not our concern, Officer Sergei. Right now we need fuel. Fast! We can drag the relevant resources to the corresponding gauges in order to fill them. So hydrogen equals fuel. I've also noticed that so I did like 1 planet or 2 of moving around, so there are little labels to indicate when you're getting fuel and such. Click and drag the resource to the corresponding gauge in order to fill it. So oxygen and iron, click and drag the resource to the corresponding gauge in order to fill it. Now, I think carbon also had a sign like this, but in this case we filled up. What was that? They rammed us, Captain Nix. Hull integrity compromised. How very naive. Did you really think you could imprison a demigod? Captain, the Archon cell has been breached. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Or First Officer Obvious. You humans, always fighting for lost causes. I would pity you, except you tried to prevent me bringing salvation to the universe. So instead I'm going to sit back and enjoy your final pathetic flailings. Another impact. Cannot let the Archon escape. I'd love to stay, but I have great plans for the galaxy. For all creation, in fact. Such a pity you won't get to see them. Ship is in critical condition. Captain, we must evacuate. Ooh. Destination reached. Terminating cryosleep. Atmosphere breathable. Opening airlock. Where's my crew? Sergey? I don't feel well. I think I'm gonna throw up. A fool. Of course Sergey isn't here. No one's here. I remember now. I lost the Vanguard. I was in cryosleep on an escape pod. I must have crash-landed on a planet. I'll almost certainly be dead soon if I'm not already. It's a signal of some kind. But what? Ugh, everything hurts. Shouldn't push myself too hard. Nyx is a survivalist. Her class makes her highly self-reliant in unknown territory. She has 3 action points. They are used to obtain rewards during text adventures and to activate the skills of crew members. Her skills are specialized in exploration and survival. Clicking on the Cataplasm skill consumes an action and heals Nyx. On expeditions, party movement is limited. Maximum number of tiles... three yellow arrows are the maximum number of tiles the team can move per turn, and the eye is the number of tiles visible around the team. Each team member can equip an item. These provide passive bonuses during expeditions. It's covered right now, but we'll figure it out. Sacred Ointments, uncommon object. Each round, the crew has a 20% chance to gain swiftness for 1 round, and 6 uses remaining. Nyx is carrying Sacred Ointments. The item has a chance of modifying her speed. Its effect will be applied 6 times. Clicking a tile moves the expedition members to that location. The following actions are used to control the camera during expeditions. Zoom with the scroll wheel, move with the keyboard arrow keys, and then scroll on the edges or click and drag. Blue arrow indicates the location of an important item. Move the expedition members from their current tile to another tile in order to advance in that direction. So we'll just move forward for now. Officer Sergey? Captain Nyx, you survived. More or less, but the Archon escaped. We lost the Vanguard, and my crew is... They ejected earlier, but the trajectory was different. I'm so glad to see you again. It's a miracle. I thought the Archon was going to kill us. It did, Officer Sergey. A captain without a ship isn't really alive. We have failed. This is the worst possible scenario. I know all that, Nyx, but at least we're together again. We'll think of something. We'll figure it out. Unless you'd prefer to just give up. That's Captain Nyx to you, officer, and you've made your point. So first question, where are we? Not a clue. The escape pods are programmed to seek out planets with habitable environments. Beyond that, we know nothing. Any chance the organization will send a rescue team? It's unlikely. Recapturing the Archon will be their top priority. Besides, even at the best of times, they aren't fond of failure. Too right. We have failed, completely and utterly. It was supposed to be a simple convoy mission. It's our fault the Archon escaped. All the people it will kill, everything it destroys. That's on us. We have to find it and stop it before it does too much damage. First, we need to get off this planet. I'm open to suggestions. Is your scanner working? I think mine was damaged in the landing. Mine's fully functional. I'll scan the area to see if I can find any trace of a ship. I'm getting something. Could be a ship. Ship? Good work, officer. Let's get moving. Campfire. This point of interest is the perfect occasion to put the members of the expedition to the test. The action points and class needed for a favorable outcome are shown. Double-click the point of interest to bring members of the expedition to it and start the text adventure. Now, I think I should just be able to hit one mouse button. Yeah, I don't know why it says double-click, but... We smell smoke from a freshly lit campfire and... Good lord. We smell smoke from a freshly lit campfire and decide to approach, simultaneously happy and apprehensive about finding signs of life on this planet. As we draw near, we see an alien lying near the flames. They don't look well. Their breathing is slow and weak, and they don't react as we approach. Nearby is a bag filled with blood-soaked minerals. When they see where our attention is drifted, the alien glances at us and suggests we take their bag, as they don't think they're going to survive the accident. So, we can take the bag, give the tonic, or mend their bones. I think I will go for mend the bones, and this is partly because Sergei's got full action points. Our engineer manages to create a plaster cast saturated with an ointment that accelerates the regeneration of bone and cartilage. However, they had to use all their stock to help. Quite quickly, the alien feels better and thanks us for our help. It offers us everything it owns in exchange for the help that we gave it. Sergei has lost an action point. The crew has found 6... Sometimes minerals and plants can be found on expeditions. These resources can be consumed during the expedition to activate skills, or brought back and used aboard the ship. So 6 minerals and 3 plants. Sometimes expedition members must confront obstacles that might injure them. Move the team over a hostile box to see its negative effects. Ah yes, this is exactly how we... I don't know about you, but I only ever learned by putting my hand on the stove. Ow! But the right skills can get them out of a tight spot. Use Sergei's stabilizer skill. This skill consumes minerals when used. Also action points. You can, of course, find resource-rich areas. Some classes make gathering more efficient. Moving the team to this box allows you to gather its resources. So it looks like you take damage going into and going out of the area. Move the expedition members from their current tile to the... not clear what tile they're referring to, in order to proceed towards the objective identified by Sergei. Our expedition group enters a ghost town. Time appears to have stopped, halted by the many gigantic spider webs that cover every building. Near the path we've chosen, we spot an enormous cocoon. The captain approaches, certain that she can hear the faint noise of breathing. After a moment of silence, we hear a call for help. Someone from inside the cocoon. There is something inside. Though we want to help, we aren't certain how to proceed. The cocoon seems to be covered in a toxic substance. So we can cut, we can apply an acid detergent, or we can identify the creatures. Now, doing so, I'm guaranteeing that one of my characters is going to eliminate all of their action points. But it strikes me that in this case, so the overall outcome is going to be the same, but in this case we lose fewer action points by applying the acid detergent. So I'm going to use Sergei again, but there is a small risk to this because this is also the character I'm most likely going to want to heal. Officer Sergei decides to concoct a mixture especially for this situation. They slather it all over the cocoon, which after a few tense seconds begins to melt away from around the alien trapped inside. It rises from its imprisonment, sucking in fresh air and proffering a bag at us, seemingly as a show of gratitude. When we look inside, we find the acid has destroyed all the plant matter while leaving the minerals intact. Sergei has lost an action point, and we gain more minerals. Okay. I don't know if there's an advantage or disadvantage to doing full or partial moves, so... Captain Nix, the readings indicate that we're already quite close to the signal. We need to pinpoint the exact location. Can you narrow the search? I can try recalibrating. Stand by, Captain. You can now summon the ship. Use the ship's call icon to order it to move within 1 tile of your crew. Your ship will land 1 tile away from the party for evacuation. Can be used once per expedition. This recall will cost 5 fuel. Do you really want to call the ship? No, we want to make a new home on this planet and stay forever. Do you want to board the ship and end the expedition? Yes. Look at this. It's magnificent. Not really, it's a rusty old wreck. Try to see the potential, Captain. We can get it working again. I'm gonna need your help, though. I'm not a mechanic, but I'll do what I can. All the raw material we need are already here. We just need a refinery. Then we can dismantle the shield generator to recover the thorium we need. And with a functional refinery, we can extract resources from any raw minerals we find. You really believe you can make this hunk of junk fly, don't you? I give you my word, Captain. We're not going to die on this planet.
Equipment damaged.
We're missing some resources needed to build the refinery, but it's possible to recycle existing technologies in order to collect the necessary resources. So in this case, it's going to recommend that we get rid of the shield generator, technology that utilizes a force field generator to protect the hull during space travel and atmospheric descents. Ah, okay, we needed the thorium for this, so. This is a neat way, I suspect. So I don't know a ton about how this game works, but I actually kind of like this idea because if you think about the way that I normally play games, I have this tendency to, like, you know how I like to hoard? And so the idea of sort of cannibalizing my ship for parts is something that I would be very resistant to. But obviously in this case here, I've been forced to use some of my components as, you know, inputs to a production process. All right, refining ores yields a wide variety of resources. Click the plus to refine one. This iron can be used to repair the drill. Click transfer all to store it in the cargo hold. The drill is now working. The resources needed to repair the interplanetary reactor can be drilled from the surface of this unknown planet. Close the cargo hold to begin using the drill. Drilling will yield the resources needed to repair the interplanetary drive. Click drill to access the drill's menu. The deeper the drill digs, the more resources it collects. Digging too deeply increases the chance of breaking the drill. Click confirm to start the drill. It's a tutorial. They're gonna flame. They're gonna fail me right away. Select the interplanetary reactor to fix it. A ship reactor capable of interplanetary travel, and we needed carbon for that. Everything's ready. What are we waiting for? Let's launch. The air on this planet makes me nauseous. I'd like to find the Vanguard. Maybe we can salvage it. We should be able to retrace our trajectory without too much trouble, and if the Vanguard can be fixed, I'll do it. That's what I like to hear, officer. Now, show me what this wreck is capable of. Ready for takeoff. Before I do that, I'm not sure if there's any benefit to saving these minerals, so let's go nuts on the refining. I think that's gold? Yep. Okay, I think that was a bit of an education there, because the return didn't seem to be all that high. Oh, I don't have the tech for... Looks like I don't have the tech for the shields. I was just thinking like I could try and rebuild the shields if I needed it, but that doesn't seem to be an option. Okay. I guess there's no indication as to what I use the plants for. Yeah, not clear what we use the plant life for yet. I don't understand. I'm hailing on all friendly frequencies, but no one is answering. Are we out of range? In a way, Captain, according to the ship's console, we're in the same galaxy, but 100 years in the future. What? We spent a century in cryosleep? I guess the escape pods couldn't find a habitable planet any sooner. A century? Imagine what the Archon has been up to during that time. The organization must think we're dead. Way to find a way to contact them. It's a long way to the Vanguard. I hope the ship will hold together until then. We don't have a choice. Are you sure you can find it? Yes, I still have the coordinates of the system where we were attacked. What are the odds we find our ship in any kind of salvageable condition after all this time? Well, it won't deteriorate in the void, but someone might have salvaged it. It's a risk I'm willing to take. I need my ship back, Officer Sergei. Set a course. The blue circle represents the range of the telescope. Within this boundary, different types of stars can be detected. The yellow circle represents the range of the cosmic folder. The ship can travel within this range. This button gives you access to your ship. These buttons allow you to switch between the galactic view, the solar view, and the ship view. Select a star system within the range of the cosmic folder in order to make your first trip. Click on a system to move towards the location of the attack. Now, actually, if you can give me a second here, I am going to grab a notepad just so that I can kind of keep track of some of these areas. It may not be obvious to a few of you in terms of what might have caught my attention, but this was the point where I was sort of saying, is like, oh, okay, I'm seeing a couple of similarities to something that I really like, and I'm curious if anybody's sort of picking up on what game might have caught my attention on this. There'll be some more kind of tells, and again, it could just be me, but while I'm running to go get something to write on, I'm curious if anybody else is sort of picking up on some of the same things that I did. Anyways, I'll be back in a second. I trust you all to fill chat with your insights. For some reason, I really like handwriting spreadsheets, so today is no exception. I do have I do have the Apple program numbers on my iPad, but I generally just like writing stuff down. Okay, so so if I use WASD, it's not going to let me move outside telescope range, but it's pretty clear we have a bit of a journey to go on. Now, one thing that does kind of intrigue me, I don't really have a good way of measuring this other than to sort of, estimate by holding up an object close to the, sort of close to the monitor. So I think I could probably do sort of jumps like this or this. But I have a feeling I'm actually going to need to move down to one of these systems before we can make it to the location of the attack. In any case, I don't think there's an indication. So, yellow dwarf, blue giant, red supergiant. I would guess that if we're looking for worlds that are a bit more like Earth, we probably want the yellow dwarves. But of course, I'm probably wanting to get some distance. The other thing that I could do is say, it's like, well, which one do I think I'm most likely to encounter? So I'm only really going to see one blue giant for the next little while. You know what? Yeah, let's try the blue giant. It's a good-looking game, by the way. I definitely like the visuals. There are several different... Oh, okay, it's explaining. There are several different types of stars. Later in the adventure, specific technologies will let you orbit them without putting the ship or the crew in danger. Several celestial objects are orbiting this system. The nature of these celestial objects depends on the type of star. Ah, cool. Okay. I suspect that this is going to be available in some kind of a resource in the game, but I'm going to write this down. One, you remember stuff a little bit easier if you do write it down, but number two, until I know where the codex is, it's probably better for me to keep track. Okay, so So one thing I'm going to be doing as I go through the game is I'm going to be kind of putting together a little table of the star type and the planets that I found. To orbit a planet or stellar object, either click one of the icons displayed at the top right of the screen or click directly on the planet on the solar system. Be careful not to navigate towards the system's central star without first installing the appropriate technology. Yeah, we will not do that. So I don't think 1 to 17, 3, 3. Yeah, so it looks like it's the same cost no matter where we go. And we can probe it. So there was costs kind of across the board for that. Alright, that looks like a decent amount. So that cost us 7 fuel to run that thing. I don't think it says what the conversion rate is, but let's see. Okay, so we get 2 fuel per helium. Or, sorry, that's not helium, hydrogen. And then helium... Oh, wow, that's going to load us all the way up. Okay. So, I'm curious. I suspect there's diminishing returns. Let's try probing this one more time. Okay, I can live with 5 hydrogen. Oop. Now the real question is if there's any benefit to... So I think probably what I want to do is maybe try one of these other worlds. Just to see what I can get. Again, there's the cost of hull, which I don't have an easy fix for, but if I can get some fuel for storage, I think that's probably a worthwhile endeavor. Okay. Let's do one more. So, used... Not enough storage space. I am okay restoring a little bit of... So especially because we don't have the space, I don't see a lot of value in trying out the other planet. So we can try a red planet or we can try a yellow. I think I'm going to do the... I'm going to do the yellow just because it's closest to my target. But again, I would like to kind of get an idea in terms of whether or not there's a higher propensity of certain planet types based on the stars. So my next one, I'm going to try a red giant if I can. Okay. Probably as expected, we've got garden planets here. It looks like we just pay fuel and oxygen for this. So this is actually also worth noting. So it seems like if I go near a gas giant, I have to pay in terms of hull, whereas here I'm just paying in terms of fuel and oxygen. Okay, looks like we just only have the option of landing. Warning, the ship's hull has been weakened. It would be wise to extract the resources needed for repairs from a rocky planet as soon as possible. Okay. Now that's telling me that I can't get those resources from... Okay, so it says here I can only get oxygen from garden planets. Yeah, so I mean, actually, I guess that raises the question why I tried to get on this rock. So let's drill to see what we can get. Okay, so it's just oxygen, which is not bad, but actually it also looks like it filled up our oxygen, which is good to know. But I think again, we might have some questions in terms of why we would want to stop on a garden planet like this. So in this case, we'll take off. And again, for the reasons where, like, we already kind of seem to have everything that we want, so I don't see a lot of value in going into another world like this. We can make it to the location of the attack, and conveniently, it's a red dwarf, so... Officer, look! I've got a visual on a ship adrift in the system. Must belong to the Archon. Let's get closer. Warning, the ship's fuel level is low. It would be wise to extract fuel from a gas giant as soon as possible. So it looks like it triggers these warnings at about the halfway mark. It's recommending location of the attack here, but it seems to me like we've got options. Okay, so it looks like there's a pretty uniform response in terms of... like, it seems like red... Basically, the stars are going to be determining the type of planet that you run into. I'll keep that in mind as we move through. So, like, in this case here, because we needed hull... I mean, it turned out the way we wanted anyway. In this case, we wanted to visit a rocky planet to be able to mine out the resources that we needed to repair the hull. And then, of course, with fuel, I've already got some... Oh, it tells us the rate. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just tending to my notes here. But yeah, so in this case here, if I didn't have reserves, my next logical step would be to visit the closest blue giant. Rocky and garden planets sometimes contain anomalies. The geoscanner technology allows you to identify zones where these anomalies are located. Our crew can then mount expeditions to explore these points of interest. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's do the scan. Was looking familiar to anyone? I should have read that text, my apologies. Alpha anomaly. So, seam of resources. It does seem like there's some fairly substantial risks here, but I also think it's worth it. So this is the point, and maybe I should have given a little bit more time before doing the big reveal. One of the reasons why I wanted to give this thing a shot is that it does seem to have more than a few echoes of Starflight, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, we did not get through to the end of Starflight. And, again, it might be that there's a couple of these, resource extraction elements that are maybe a little bit more sort of Mass Effect inspired. Like the way that the detection of the anomalies goes definitely feels a bit more sort of Mass Effect 2-ish. But of course, Mass Effect was inspired by Starflight. But this idea here, I don't know if the worlds are procedurally generated. Like, I do like the fact that more game. Actually, let me just take a quick second and see if that's in the. Maybe it'll be in the ad copy. Also, it gives me a chance to talk about the game. Although I apologize that the game audio is not working when I'm focused away. Okay, about this game. The successor to the award-winning Out There, Oceans of Time blends resource management and interactive fiction for a space survival epic where death is one wrong decision away. As Commander Nyx, explore a vast galaxy that is different every time you play as you search for the Archon, a cosmic villain set on dominating the civilizations of the galaxy. Encounter other strange life forms and learn to communicate, trade, and conduct diplomacy as you build a coalition of allies in your mission to find the Archon. Recruit new members from the alien races you cross paths with and build a team capable of traversing the cosmos. Manage your crew, your ship, and its systems. The mission's success is down to your decisions as commander. Experience a deep branching narrative written by Fiber Tiger, dialogue by Christos Gage, Daredevil, Netflix 2015, Spider-Man, Insomniac, Sony 2018, and beautiful interactive cutscenes illustrated by renowned artist Benjamin Carré, Transformers Age of Extinction, Alone in the Dark. Out There, Oceans of Time is developed by Miklo Studio, the creators of Out There and Sigma Theory. Some very lovely gifts. Navigate the expansive cosmos that is different every time you play. Explore unexplored terrain and collect resources for your ship and the next leg of your journey. Recruit from a diverse range of alien life forms and build a team capable of surviving the furthest reaches of the cosmos. And an epic space saga penned by Fiber Tiger with dialogue from Christos Gage. I'm not sure who Fiber Tiger is. I think all the other names they kind of gave a sort of a work that we would be familiar with. Well, most people would be familiar with. I don't think I've seen anything in that list. I guess I watched Johnny Big Time play Spider-Man. But yeah, so it does sound like there's some level of procedural generation from that talk. One thing I do kind of like is that generally games tend not to advertise their tech. So I know some games sort of talk about, procedurally generated worlds, and that's like right in the title. And I guess the thing is that for me, procedurally generated is a noisy signal to me as to whether or not it's a game that I'm going to enjoy. It's very fair to say that there's a lot of games that use that technology to, very well, and it makes the game very interesting to me, but it's not necessarily because, it's the use in the context of some other decisions. Obviously in this game, I think probably the reason why I'm interested is more the fantasy of being a space captain and going between worlds. And of course, this is why I was interested in it in the light of playing Starflight, because it does sound like I'm going to be sort of doing a lot of the things that I found interesting in Starflight. I'm going to be visiting different worlds. I'm going to be trying to manage my resources in such a way that I can advance the journey. It's maybe not obvious how we're going to be stopping the Archon, so a little bit like Starflight, we're maybe going to be getting a few more pieces as it goes by. There's also a couple of other interesting angles here, which is the idea that you are actually going to be building your crew through your journeys. And I think that's an exciting possibility because, of course, when we think of Starflight, we always kind of come back home and, we buy our upgrades and we will always have access to all of the crew members that we want and the training and such. Whereas this is definitely, it's much like the character was in the introduction, right? You don't find out about yourself until you're thrown into an unknown situation and you see what's going on. And I don't know, I find that an exciting prospect in terms of a game, and ultimately when I saw this, I saw that there was the possibility for me to kind of put my name in for a key. This seemed to be something that kind of folded in very nicely to Starflight, whether that's just an example of sort of the legacy that Starflight has sort of had in terms of, its influence being felt a couple degrees removed, or whether or not that was a direct inspiration for this game here. Obviously, I don't see any direct references to Starflight, but it's kind of hard for me to have played Starflight so recently and not sort of see some parallels. And again, that just might be an indication of the kind of the game's legacy. Anyways, we are going to do an expedition. It's going to be dangerous for my characters, but let's see. Surely they won't kill us at the start. Members of the crew can be selected to go on expeditions. Note, if either Nex or Sergei die on an expedition, the adventure is over. Up to 4 crew members can go on an expedition at the same time. Each character has a specific class. The higher their level, the more effective their skills will be, and the more action points they will have to spend. Each class has its own specific features. Teams can be tailored according to the skills needed for each expedition. Survivalist, survival, exploration, botany, self-defense, tracking, and orientation. Engineer, construction, mechanical engineering, information technology, resource extraction, and recycling. And xenolinguist, history, archaeology, botany, diplomacy, medicine, and commerce. During expeditions, each action, using skills, visiting points of interest, etc., gives experience points to members of the crew. Eventually, they will gain levels and become even more effective. Okay, actually so I didn't realize this. The more stuff I do, the more experience I get. So it's actually optimal if I use up all of my action points before finishing a mission. Expeditions can be dangerous. It's best to pick characters in a good state of health. If the ship is equipped with a sickbay, then health points can be recovered during interstellar trips. The number of action points is limited, though they may increase when the crew member levels up. These points allow you to use skills or react to narrative events during expeditions. Each character's skills are presented here. They can be activated during the expedition using action points or resources. So Cataplasm heals 2 health points for 1 expedition member. That seems to imply that they can be a healer for everyone. Tundra Herbal Tea, movement status and vision status. Crew have been applied to the crew for 3 rounds. Swiftness increases speed, and improved vision improves the field of vision by 1 at the cost of 4 plants. I happen to have my tea with me. Apologies, Olaf, but it's a tea night. And we're bringing the Sacred Ointment back with me. No, that is a limited use. So in this case, we will have 5 more expeditions with it, and each round the crew has a 20% chance to gain swiftness for 1 round. Doesn't seem like there's any way of kind of directly activating that, so I think in this case here, it probably makes as much sense to bring it with us each time. You can assign an item to each crew member before leaving an expedition. These objects will be used passively during the course of the expedition. It is important to put some thought into equipping items on members of an expedition. These objects grant bonuses and modifiers that can be essential to a successful successful exploration. Items are used passively during expeditions. However, their effects can only be applied a certain number of times. Okay, so we're definitely adding Nyx. We've got Sergei, so I won't spend too long on this, but we've got nano stabilizers, so the caster recovers 1 health point. Now that's worth noting. In contrast to Nyx, this seems to be a self-heal. Chest Scavenger reveals 1 chest closest to the expedition team, and Geological Radar, when a resource vein is revealed, the crew gains 6 experience points, and it has 4 uses remaining. Okay. So clearly I do not want to provoke damage if I can avoid it. So we're going to head this direction. Actually, it may make some... Wait a minute. Did I not bring... I thought I brought Sergei, but I didn't. Alright, so this is going to be tricky to deal with, but not impossible. Alright, so possible asphyxiation. Oh, and looks like this is an engineering challenge, so we're missing our crew member already. Our expedition party comes across a perplexing shipwreck, a vessel of unknown origin, which to all appearances made a crash landing, completely surrounded by a vast bubble of thin, transparent material. Beyond the barrier, we can see spindly creatures moving about, working on the ship. Are they survivors, or is this a salvage team of some kind? They do not react to our presence, perhaps because they haven't noticed us yet. Get the creature's attention. After making a great deal of noise, we manage to attract the attention of those inside the bubble. As they draw close to the barrier, looking at us in wonder. They draw close to the barrier, looking at us in wonder. After some time, we manage to establish a common language and learn much about them. They explain that, having evolved in a sterile environment, they are highly sensitive to bacteria and viruses. The bubble is a necessary barrier between them and a world that would kill them. This friendly exchange allows us to gather some useful information. A new word has been learned. Einar take. Excuse me. A new word has been learned. Rimri Aksa, humans. See, I really regret not bringing Sergei. I'm sure the game probably communicated the blunder to me somehow, and I just didn't notice. But obviously, I'm feeling the effects. On a planet with several orbiting moons, we encounter a fully intact city center resting in the midst of an otherwise destroyed metropolis. Within this preserved area is an enigmatic structure that resembles a large metronome. It emits an unknown type of energy and weak gravitational waves. So again, wish I had an engineer. It appears impossible to discern its purpose. None of the expedition party want to touch it, let alone stray near it. So definitely would have used Sergei here, but let's pilfer the components. Forget archaeology, it's minerals we need. We dismantle the machine, breathing a sigh of relief when the strange energy readings cease. Our decision proves fruitful, and we leave with a large supply of useful components. So where I can, I'm trying to avoid the tiles that will damage me, but I think it's going to force my hand. It says inverse waterfall, but where? Yeah, so we've got two blockages to the... I mean, I'm willing to risk the damage in order to get something. Let's see if we can maybe see if we can get away with sneaking around and finding another way in. Our expedition arrives at our intended destination, but what we find at the location is at first incomprehensible. The ground, glimmering with precious minerals, flows upwards and disappears into the sky. It is a gravitational phenomenon, or some kind of technology that... Oh, sorry, is it a gravitational phenomenon, or some kind of technology that defies our current level of understanding? Is there a risk in approaching it? So we can collect minerals from around the periphery, we can collect minerals from the flux, or we can sever the flux. This definitely seems very dangerous, but let's give it a shot. It is difficult to watch the largest vein we've ever seen disappear into orbit, so we decide to collect from the ascending flux itself. The harvest is excellent, even if the operation is dangerous. As we near the waterfall, we feel an inverted gravitational pull that threatens to carry us into the sky. Our apprehension is justified. One of the crew is snatched from the ground along with the ore that they were trying to gather. We throw them a lifeline to prevent them from flying away, but in the process they collide with a rock and pass out. We manage to pull them back to the ground, where they slowly regain consciousness. The expedition has been a success, but what a fright. So in this case, I think there's a lot of sense in using the healing. Again, we get experience for using our points. So I'm trying to think of health here as a resource to be consumed like all the others. A small cube and a headlamp. Okay, and it seems like... So it seems like Fog of War, or whatever this counts as. Yeah, so I think the fact that there's Fog of War here doesn't necessarily mean that there's any more to the map than what I've already seen. Okay, looks like we did a good job dodging the health effects twice. Okay, another headlamp. I think I will take a quick second here just to see if I... just want to make sure that there isn't anything that I've missed visuals-wise. Ooh. That will have consequences. Well, it's just another chance for me to... Yeah, Nick seems really good at avoiding the damage from this stuff. So I actually kind of want to take some damage for a reason that'll be apparent in a minute. I'm not quite ready to use you yet. So what I'm going to do here as a curiosity, so it seems, I don't know if this is just me getting lucky or if this is something about the game, but it feels like every time I've walked through one of these tiles, there hasn't been a consequence, so I want to see if standing on the tile changes anything. Okay, looks like it. And it's kind of damage over time. So the reason I did this is so I can use my cataplasm one last time. And those are all my action points. Do you want to board the ship and end the expedition? Yes. So yeah, I certainly would have preferred to bring along my ally, but it's what I got, so... now, we are going to need to make some decisions about where things go. Okay. Well, let's start by... We'll make space where we can. Alright, I think we've just kind of kicked the can down the road. Let's go to the refinery. Let's do another max and see what we get out of it. I'm assuming keeping minerals is sort of keeping the option, but in this case we have quite a few... Like, we got quite a few of these already taking up slots, so I'm not opposed to just kind of cranking this thing out. Okay, so if we transfer all, the consequence for that is we've now used up all of our slots. So I may want to reconsider my approach here. When an expedition is over, your crew members will experience fatigue. They can only be deployed to the field again after several interstellar trips. Click here to access information about your crew members. The members of your crew are gathered here. After an expedition, they receive fatigue. Even fatigued crew members can still be used on board the ship. They can be assigned to operate various technologies. In developing their specialties, crew members can enhance the effectiveness of some technologies on board the ship. Okay, so probability of locating anomalies, increase the probability of finding resources when drilling, increases the range of the telescope, probability of finding resources when probing. Well, given the fact that visiting gas giants seems to damage my hull, let's assign Nix to the interplanetary reactor. And then Sergei, I'm inclined to put them on the drill. Although I do wonder, like, why I wouldn't just reassign him to whatever. Like, the one thing I'm not clear on is why I wouldn't just assign crew members to each station I'm about to work on. So, for instance, I'm going to drill right now. Doesn't seem to be much profit in continuing there. So I definitely need to work on my my hydrogen next. So essentially what I'm curious about, so now we've got some specialization in terms of drillers, so why wouldn't I just take Sergei and now put him on something like the hydrogen probe? We'll find that out. I don't need it right now, so in this case we'll just take off and see what else we can get. Right, sorry, we still needed to check out the location of the attack. So I don't see much value in going to the rocky planet, seeing as we're limited in terms of the number of actions we can do on a world. You're right, officer. That's one of the ships that attacked us. Strange that it was abandoned even after they managed to free the Archon. It must have been damaged during the attack on the Vanguard. They probably prioritized getting away over salvaging it. Makes sense, though. Maybe the Archon's forces use it as a navigational beacon. What are your orders? Let's search the Archon's ship. We could find some useful information there. Looks like the ship's communication system kept functioning for a while after the battle. I can decode most of their transmissions. It seems like the Archon is fixated upon the idea of building some kind of stellar republic. Stellar Republic? A pompous name for a pompous monster. Most of the information in here is outdated, but it seems like the Archon succeeded. According to this map, the Archon's republic spans thousands of worlds. It has an immense fleet with ships beyond counting. Can't believe all these civilizations have joined the Archon. I'm guessing they didn't have much of a choice. We need more recent information. These frequencies were discontinued decades ago. Check the ship's navigation system, where it came from, where it's going, anything you can find. Let's see. It seems the ship's last logged destination was a place called Atlas. That's our best lead. Agreed. I just hope we're not too late. Okay, so we get to salvage the ship for parts. Although the stat, except for ecosystem, it actually seems to be better. So if I tried to unload all the cargo. Well, this looks promising. Oh man, yeah, this is gonna require some thinking. Okay, so minimum we want to recreate the things that we already had. So telescope and refinery. Sick bay if I can manage it. Okay, so now we'll disassemble everything on the old ship. Okay, so in order to kind of cover what we need at minimum another storage slot. And ideally a sick bay. Yeah, but we don't have the carbon for it. Or do we? Yeah, it looks like we do. I'm curious about this communication station. So, private place for communication with loved ones away from the eyes and ears of others. Each trip, the crew has a 20% chance of regaining 5 morale and 5 comfort. So, well, no, I guess they said people survive for hundreds of years. So, I guess that's possible. We've got the iron, but we need the thorium and I guess that's cobalt. So what I'm going to do here, we will load the remaining cargo. Now, it would be cool to free up some space by building additional technology or module slots. But at the moment, I don't quite need the... I guess maybe helium is the one thing that I'm not clear that I have needs for right now. I think probably what's better for me... I mean, the other thing that I could say is like, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sort of storage units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we've already got more of these storage units. We've got 3 modules where the old one had 4. And then technology, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're short on technology as well. It'd maybe be interesting if I did like a full accounting of the number of slots. But I mean, I just need to take a look at the numbers here, and it makes more sense. Okay, yeah. So we've got a new. Oh Jesus! Look at those. Those numbers are kind of grim. I guess at minimum we can pack it full of oxygen. We do actually have use for copper. Holy crap. Sorry. I've got some details to write down. I would like to build the tech if I can. Or sorry, the module. So four fee 3 3 go. Cool. Yeah, so I've definitely made some difficulties for myself, but it seems like we have more stuff overall, if I'm not mistaken. So we've got a telescope, interplanetary reactor, hydrogen probe, cosmic folder, drill, refinery, geoscanner. Actually, yeah, our tech is the same. Maybe we didn't wind up with a better ship over... Oh, no, hang on. We've got the... Oh, hang on. We already have a communication station. Well, now I don't have that IOU. So we're up a cool module, and better stats, but okay. The Archon wanted to go to the Atlas. We should get there and find out why. Okay, so 68 light years away. Let's think a little bit about what we want to try and get. So we have sort of a priority for both fuel and hull. Now, if I do the Blue Giant first, that should free up Nyx for an expedition on one of the rocky planets. So we'll go to the Blue Giant first. That's prioritizing fuel. Plus, our ship looks cool. And then following that, we'll work on sorry, what am I trying to say? We'll work on getting that hull repaired. It is impossible to progress into the system. At the outer edge of the star's gravitational field, a powerful force field bars any entry. We locate an opening of sorts, but it is some kind of alien tunnel maintained by an unfamiliar species. If we try to proceed, what will we find? So we could bargain over resources. We gain an object but lose fuel. We can pretend to be employees, so I don't know what short trip does, but we'd lose an object. Let's bargain over resources. Fuel level has fallen by 10, and the crew has found 1 onyx. So one of the reasons I was comfortable doing that is we are going to be able to visit gas giants. Now, again, our hull is going to be damaged, so we don't have an unlimited number of trips to gas giants. But I'm going to do my best with what we've got. Warning, the ship's oxygen level is low. It would be wise to extract oxygen from a garden planet as soon as possible. Now, we're going to do that trick that I talked about, which is to assign crew to different roles. So in this case, we'll put Sergei on the hydrogen probe.
Fuel tank low.
We're kind of breaking even at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move to another planet. Now, we may not be able to go to the... may not be able to go to the third, depending on how much damage we take. Two's not terrible. Once more with feeling.
Equipment damaged.
All right, that's not a huge surprise. So this is one of the reasons why I wasn't repairing my hull right away. And this one I'm just going to go really heavy. Because this is going to be our last run on hydrogen. Okay, didn't spark joy, but gives me something to work with. I mean, I could probably just chuck it into the tank right now. But while our oxygen is low, I think a rocky planet is what the doctor ordered right now. Although I will confess, it is slightly tempting to do a yellow dwarf and then one of the rocky planets on the edge here. Okay, let's risk it. One garden planet. So obviously the hope here is that Nyx is recovered from the fatigue and we'll also be able to do an expedition if there's an anomaly present. Okay, so the alpha anomaly is going to require a survivor. I'm going to assume 3 skulls is scary, or the beta anomaly is a point of interest. Now the thing is that Minerals Blueprints and Omega seems like a really nice return. And the last dangerous mission we went on actually didn't have that bad of a consequence. So I want to be mindful of my my health, but we will do an expedition here. Okay, and we will keep the sacred ointments. Well, let's see what other yeah, no, we only have sacred ointments.
Oh.
And same story, we only have... I wonder what happened with the... I wonder what happened to all that other stuff that we wound up picking up. So again, the game is warning me that this is a really deadly expedition, and if either of these characters dies, it's game over. So I am going to be mindful of where I step. Okay. Now, because there's two sort of damaging areas, and the last time we got hit by asphyxiation, it actually damaged us multiple times. I'm going to start by doing Chest Scavenger. Cool. And that's just going to... What I want to try and do, if I'm going to be facing the possibility of taking some damage, I want to do so in a way that makes sure I minimize the number of times that I get tagged by something like that. Okay, so Nyx is affected for 2 rounds. Ooh, this is going to get a little hairy. The expedition comes across a cluster of unusual rock formations. We cannot shake the feeling that they look like eggs, though each is nearly as tall as a male humanoid. The surfaces are very hard. They could be sculptures. It is difficult to imagine such objects forming by chance. I'm going to intimidate the predator. It's not that I want to, but it's a lower action cost. Oh, actually, sorry. I thought Sergei might have been damaged. No, we're still going to intimidate the predator. We apply force to one of the objects, breaking it apart. Inside is the embryo of an unknown species, apparently near the end of its gestation cycle. It resembles a large serpent with legs and a huge pair of eyes. Breaking it from the shell early does not seem to have harmed it. The creature leaps upon one of our crewmates. It's impossible to tell if it is attacking or not, and we are forced to dispatch it to save our crewmate. Someone suggests adding the carcass to our provisions. Scans reveal it to be edible, and the food could come in handy. Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. So actually, I'm happy with that trade-off because we're all up on action points now. Oh god, are they really gonna make me go through another suffocating nuts? Oof! Yeah, we're really getting hammered by these. Okay, found a lockpicking kit. Okay, there's our objective, but it's again behind something dangerous. Okay, I'm gonna just mosey on around, just see what my other options are before I go to too far down the path. Okay, so as a starter, let's do the cataplasm. That's going to be on Nyx. Okay, looks like we dodged the damage here. So, our expedition follows a signal coming from below the surface of the planet. After much backtracking and exploration, we discover an enormous channel scored into the ground. It appears artificial in nature, and when we follow it, our suspicions are confirmed. A large ship crashed onto the planet, landing hard enough to punch a hole deep into the Earth. We find no survivors, but accessing the ship's records reactivates the onboard AI. Immediately, the system initiates its launch sequence, even though it is underground. Attempting to take off now would kill the entire expedition. So, I mean, it did originally indicate that we would need to... well, I guess... So the tough call is I don't know if it means that the expedition fails if I don't do the same action. I'm going to try disabling the AI just to see if this still counts as a success. Despite the fact that they are working with an unknown technology, our engineer manages to get control of the ship. They contain the AI, removing its access to the ship's controls and many of its vital systems. We can now explore the ship freely without worrying about it trying to take off. While taking stock of its contents, we discover Omega in the engine, as well as the plans for an unknown technology in the ship's database. What a successful mission. Okay, cool. So that does count as completing the objective. And one of the reasons I did that is I still have the option of using up the action points for the rest of the team. So... okay, we dodged a bullet there. So I have a few options available to me. I can try going through the asphyxiation zone again. Well, let's not like deliberately go through these things, but like I may want to explore the rest of the planet sort of in safe spots. Okay, behind a bright metal toral gate, we find the disfigured face, vast and sinister, of an ancient unknown god. Here, in the middle of nowhere, a temple was once erected, only to be abandoned by its worshippers. So we don't have anybody with the appropriate skills, so we'll ignore the location entirely. And at this point, I'm a little more interested in just seeing what's in the area. So yeah, there's definitely stuff in this area here. I'm slightly worried about what it's going to take to get back to the ship. Okay, so Sergei's going to be taking some damage. Ooh, that is actually a killer for them. I can't think of a lot of things that would make it worth it for us to risk that kind of damage. So we're definitely going to risk our health quite a bit here. So yeah, we might have left something on the ground there, but obviously I was able to use all my action points and we were able to achieve the objective. So I think overall we're in a good enough spot. Okay, so once again we're going to have to make some hard choices in terms of where we put things. I'm a little uncomfortable giving up the possibility of hull, but this Omega stuff seems kind of useful. Oh, actually, it's a little sad to give up that copper, but I think it was the right call. And we're definitely going to drill. I should have had him on the drill. Okay, same story as before. Question is, do I risk it one more time? I think I will. Okay, quite a bit of carbon. I don't think we can translate that into... I think we can translate into anything that we can build with. So my last step is going to be refining. Admittedly, we don't have a lot of minerals, but... no. And what I should have done was I should have actually had Sergei in that spot. I'm wondering about the crew allocation. Like, it might just be because it's kind of annoying to reallocate everyone that the game sort of feels okay allowing that possibility. But I'm definitely feeling a little frustrated with myself for not like not taking advantage of the like the opportunities. Okay, so thorium, we have some. So we get better performance out of our interplanetary reactors. So we need 3 more thorium, and then we've not seen platinum yet. Which apparently is good for getting oxygen. It says this resource can be found on rocky planets. Okay, well, we will worry about that in the future. What we want to worry about now is getting our hull up so that we can visit a gas giant again and kind of go back to that loop of like just accumulating the resources over time. It'd be great if I could get a shield generator, but and I think I can justify... Oh, I think I've learned why some of these are white. It's because it's not in the telescope, so these will probably be revealed when I move through. So I'm thinking go as far as we can with the red planet. Now, I mean, it's kind of off course, right? But it's what I've got. And I believe we'll be able to reach at least one blue... Oh, white dwarf. Okay, so there are white planets. Maybe it would make sense to visit Showball 662 then. Yeah, we'll do that. We enter the system and find ourselves in the midst of an extremely dense asteroid field, one that clouds our field of vision entirely. The shock will be violent unless we jump to a new system immediately. We can't take the risk. The captain orders us to engage the cosmic folder, and we jump to a new system. Ship is moved elsewhere. Ooh. Okay, really wasn't looking forward to that. So we're down the fuel. I don't want to visit another... garden world as it is. So we'll visit the next red giant. It's, we're down a bit of fuel off of that, but I don't want to be in the middle of an asteroid field when I'm trying to recover hull. Out of curiosity, we approach a singularity that appears to act as a kind of portal to another dimension. Through it, we see a mass of tentacles floating in intriguing patterns. With a jolt, we realize these things have also likely spotted our ship as well. So we can send an emissary. We lose health points but gain an object. We can organize a welcome ceremony, which will cost us oxygen but gain an alien world, or we can refuse to meet them. Now, we've got... Not only do we have a fairly high amount of oxygen, but we've got a fairly decent little reserve. In fact, I'd argue that oxygen is probably one of the more straightforward things for me to restore. And given the fact that we don't have somebody who's good at that sort of foreign relations yet, I think probably the welcome ceremony makes a bit more sense. I don't know this idea of health points, if that winds up being like a permanent reduction or just, we take damage and then just shrug it off in the sick bay. Alright, oxygen levels fallen by 20, a bit more than I was thinking it would be, and a new word has been learned, Hayus, fear. Okay. So again, the aim here is to repair our hull, so we will visit the rocky planet. I don't think we have what... I don't think we have any... I don't think we have the fatigue to be able to do an expedition. Well, it's suggesting I land. We'll go for it. I guess I need to land to drill, so... Okay, so we're probably gonna... Oh, I may not have the materials to repair the drill. Well, we just got him, so... We are really short on fuel, though.
Equipment damaged.
Okay, that's not a surprise, so we'll fix it right away. I'm trying to think whether or not it makes sense to do... Let's try one more. Please tell me I put the right guy on the... Yeah. I think I'm actually going to visit that other planet, see if we can maybe get a better haul. Again, we're still looking to repair our hull here, so And we don't have fatigue, so... Okay, so we've got a medium deadly. Okay, so it's equally deadly in both cases, but the alpha anomaly will require fewer resources. I mean, the omega would be nice. Maybe I should keep that in mind. What's my alternative? Object minerals? Yeah, you know what? We've already got omega taking up inventory, so... Not 100% sure what it's for, but it seems to be kind of like a universal element, so seems like a good thing to have more of. Now, I do need to be a little more careful because, of course, the trade-off it's expressing for me is that if I... Sorry. Now's not a bad time for me to work on the... So I think this has to be the last one because we're quite in a bit of a danger zone as far as the fuel goes. Okay. But yeah, so if we really need to use 3 engineering, I'm going to... I'm definitely going to have some words. I'm gonna have to basically limit my actions to Nyx.
Oh. Uh-huh.
But as was true for the previous expedition, maybe that there's a low-cost Nyx option there. Okay. As always, we're going to try and find a way that doesn't damage my crew. Oh, wow. While on expedition, the feeling of being observed grows incredibly strong. Some crew members try to shake off the sensation, believing it to be paranoia, while others are certain we're being followed by unknown pursuers. In an attempt to alleviate the feeling, we climb to the top of a hill, only to discover that we're being encircled by a group of large, 8-legged reptiles. They draw near, growling in such a way that makes clear their predatory intent. So we can fight back for one, or we can attempt to frighten off the creatures for everything. I think in this case I'm going to do attempt to frighten off the creatures, but I'm cutting myself off from the possibility of future healing now. Using what little materials we have left, our survivalist starts a fire with flames and frightening cries. They manage to intimidate the creatures. The lizards seem to understand that there is more to lose by taking us on. They scatter, and soon after we come upon the reason for their boldness. It seems their nest was nearby. We find a few useful items, the only remains of explorers less fortunate than ourselves. Okay, I mean, sacred ointments are nice, but I don't know if they're like, give up all my action points nice. But that's what I get for being cautious. The trick here is going to be to try and identify the objective as quickly as possible, so I do not feel the need to go over the dangerous tiles. I have no idea what an adornment of the abyssal is. Okay. That's probably going to go immediately into the refiner, but... So it definitely feels like these higher skull planets have more or less, like the paths kind of force you to go over damaging tiles. I'm still going to play as if there is the option of avoiding them. But I do... Okay, well, nope, there's our objective, so everything else is gravy at this point. So I just check out little tiles like that to make sure I'm not missing anything exciting. So we will get back to the objective. I just want to do a little exploring before I go too nuts. Yeah, so in this case, it seems like we actually had some clear paths to all the items we wanted. It makes me wonder if on similar planets I was just I just wasn't that observant. Well, actually, I guess there's this area. It's not clear what our path is there, but I have a specific idea about how I'm going to handle this. So we're going to do the objective first. We'll see what happens after the proto-god. And then what I might try is just a trip in this little area as long as I don't feel I'm going to take that much damage. Because we have the option of either flying the ship in, or we have more or less a clear path to the escape. But again, depends on what happens here. Our expedition finally arrives after following readings that indicate the presence of an incredible amount of Omega, so substantial that our engineers thought it was an error. And yet there it is, a lake of Omega so large that it must be the residue of a judge architect. As we approach, the surface of the lake comes to life, taking the form of a large black phoenix. So we could try to establish communication, but instead we will... Well, we could try if we had the appropriate skill, but here we will contain the creature. It is nothing more than a living mineral, possessing all the same weaknesses as Omega. Our engineer uses a piece of their gear to generate a powerful magnetic field, which agitates and repels the beast. It leaves behind a few Omega feathers as it leaves, which we collect before departing ourselves. Cool. So I just want to be clear on the potential risks that I am taking on here. I can't let my crew members die. So there's a 25% chance that somebody's taking damage. And I need to realize that twice because I kind of go through this region. And there can be some rather nasty ones. So like if I get 4 turns of 2 damage on Sergei, he's dead and I don't have any way of repairing that. But if I feel like I'm in danger, I do have kind of a direct path to the ship. So what I'm going to do here is sort of a you only YOLO once move. So 3 rounds of bleed at 1 health. Unfortunately, we do not have the skills for the sleeping giant. So in this case, this was pure cost to us. And yeah, we're bleeding, but we will not, we won't like die, and we've got sick bay, so we can recover. So I should probably get a good read as to what the potential consequences of like using a lesser action point over a higher one, because it's possible if these are sort of randomly generated, I might just get lucky that I have one very costly way of overcoming a challenge and then one less costly way which leads to the same result. This is one of the... It's actually kind of interesting the way that this game handles the knowledge. So there's... Again, I don't mean to speak... I realize I do this disclaimer all the time, but I think it's helpful, particularly because in terms of streaming, there's the tendency for people to, take their experience playing games and to try and turn that into some kind of expertise about the creation of games or, design. And it's not necessarily... Like, there can be good ways for that to appear. Because in the end, the more familiar people become with game development, the greater potential expression. So what I mean by this is if you think of film, so there's the fairly famous story of one of the Lumiere brothers' first films of the train coming into the station and people being very alarmed by the novelty of this, so much so that they ran out of the chairs. And again, it's comical to us because it's just a train arriving in a station. Admittedly the camera is like on the track, so it is coming directly towards you. but is black and white. And I think you all have an idea of what that kind of old style film looked like. It definitely did not have the visual fidelity that we take for granted, even on, the lowest end of like a flip phone. I think is probably recording a higher quality image than that now. Maybe I'm overselling it on the flip phone thing, but again, it's not Avatar is what I'm trying to say. And over time, people get more comfortable with stories being told in film. And then there's the idea of the cut. And if you think of the idea of the cut originally, like, it's a revolutionary idea, right? Like, you're dealing with an audience that potentially is going to run out of the theater seeing a black and white train move towards them on the screen. And now what you're proposing is effectively to decapitate the actor, right? Your only other example that you have is the stage, in which you are able to see the full actor. And yet, the idea of the close-up is something that, it's something we take for granted now, but is something that somebody had to do for the first time. There's actually, if you're interested in film stuff, I don't want to make this a whole discussion about film, but there's a point that I want to make about the way, kind of the outside perspective of design and what that leads to in terms of kind of responding to games. But there's another interesting idea about the idea of the cut, which is it's very hard to think of real life examples that are analogous to cuts, right? You can kind of think of maybe dreams, but then the question is, well, is our dream, like, I've had an entire lifetime of being able to see films. I think that's true for the last few generations. And so, you may have the question, do we dream differently? Like, do we dream in cuts because we're exposed to so many visual images? I'm sure there's a way that we can maybe test that. But outside of dreams, there's maybe not really something that you could think of that would give you an analogy to a cut. But Walter Murch, actually, he's an editor and sound editor as well, but I'd argue probably better known for his film editing. He had this very interesting insight in a book called In the Blink of an Eye, where he says that the real world analogy to the cut is Blink, which I think is an interesting insight. But in any case, the point that I want to try and make here is that as audiences became more familiar with the process of filmmaking, in addition to the experience of watching films, there is greater expressibility. We take a certain amount for granted when we look at an image. I would argue that our ability to take in an image and understand it is considerably more advanced than an audience in, say, the 1920s. And this becomes important because the types of movies that we are going to make and the types of experiences that we're going to have, either in a cutscene or a commercial or anything along those lines, is going to be shaped by sort of an estimation in terms of what the audience can take in. Sure, if you sit down and watch an avant-garde film, that's not going to be the most exciting experience for you. But I would propose that if you were to show a commercial to an old audience, that would probably be a very strange experimental film to them, even though to us, if anything, it's an annoyance. So what does all this have to do with out there? One common discussion that I hear in, either a podcast or I do attend the local game dev meetup, and there's some people who I've either talked to about this or I have gotten a chance to sort of hear their views on these things. There's the question when you come to sort of narrative choices, let's say. It's not just narrative choices, but when you're given those options like you see inside of this game, whether or not it will tell you what the outcome is. So you might imagine a game like Sunless Sea, and Sunless Sea will say something like, there is a very small chance that you will lose health or something like that. And then there are other games which will say, you have absolute certainty in terms of what the outcome is, right? You put in this many action points, and this is what you get out. And then there is the other path, which is to sort of say, real world is full of uncertainty. So my narrative game should be as well, or, not just narrative game, but that's what we're talking about right now. And we're not going to tell you the outcomes of certain actions. This one is probably the most contentious, both among players, and it also feels like whenever I hear designers talk about it, most of the time the reaction is fairly strongly against it. Although I have noticed games like Pillars of Eternity will allow you to turn sort of the don't tell me anything option on. So what I find kind of interesting about this one is that this game does give me some pretty clear choices. It's definitely expressed certain things. I could give up oxygen, I could give up health, I could use the one action point or 3 action point, but in this case it's stopped short of giving me complete information, in the sense that I don't know if I went for the lesser option with Nyx if I still would have gotten all of these items, or if instead I would have just maybe avoided taking damage, let's say, or any of the other options. So, and the reason why I wanted to talk about sort of the understanding side of things is that obviously prior to listening to podcasts about games or talking with developers about these things, I wouldn't have maybe necessarily been able to put my finger on exactly why I react certain ways to certain choices. I've definitely encountered similar kinds of choices, and I've been annoyed by them sometimes. But it actually took sort of the discussion in terms of game design to be able to sort of put that in the proper framing. And this is ultimately why, again, like I take the time to build this scaffolding for the discussion, because there is a style of broadcast which is just sort of like, hi, I'm John Gamerson. I'm going to talk about, games like I'm an expert, and, if only devs weren't so lazy, and if only EA wasn't so greedy, the world would be perfect. And I don't really see a lot of value in that, but I understand that there is a lot of attention that goes to that kind of thing. And I do sometimes feel a certain responsibility, again, at the risk of going on too long, and I apologize for those who don't find this very interesting, but I do find some value in just sort of distinguishing the discussion from that type of dialogue, just because in the end I think it's easier to dismiss that kind of feedback or that kind of exchange when it's sort of presented as, well, I'm just going to explain your business to you, and I know how games work because I play them 20 hours a week or whatever. Hey, Irrepressible, this is Out There, Oceans of Time. So one of the reasons why I was really attracted to this, we're about 2 hours into the game now. One of the things that I found kind of attractive about this game was it seemed to have a few echoes of Starflight. I think you got to see me play that a couple of times. It's kind of resource management. I've actually been able to sort of hop onto the wreck of another ship. We need to go to certain worlds in order to sort of make sure that our hull and our oxygen and all of that's being maintained. And I'm having a neat time with it. So the claim on... Well, I say claim. I don't mean to make that sound so suspicious. But the claim on the store page is that the galaxy is different every time. So I don't know if there's some... I realize there's a distinction between random generation and procedural generation. So, like, Starflight is procedurally generated, but the planets you will land on will be the same each time. Because it does not generate the planets on the... Well, maybe it generates them as they go, but, like, the seed is set. Whereas this game, it might be that there is some, procedural system, or maybe it just starts you in a new location. Like, there's lots of different ways that can be realized. But in this case here, it's an intriguing... This came out on the 26th. And it's definitely an intriguing little game that had just enough similarity to Starflight for me that I thought this would be an interesting point of contrast. And it's certainly winning me over as far as an interesting game in its own right. I will just mention I was given a key from the developer, so but I mean you've been around kind of long enough to know that I take the disclosure seriously, but my enthusiasm for games are genuine. At maybe the risk of maybe being overly enthusiastic for certain games, because I don't know, I just like games. But I don't like misleading people in terms of in terms of picking up something that maybe they're not interested in. But you can let me know what you think, and if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to ask Irrepressible, because it's been kind of quiet tonight, so I relish the opportunity to explain what I think of the game as we go on. So actually, this is not a bad little opportunity for me to discuss some of the trade-offs. So we've got a bunch of slots on our ship. We've got plants. Now, admittedly, I don't really know what I use plants for yet. I've got an ability that will allow me to use plants, but I don't really have that much else to work with. Actually, I've got 30 minerals right now, so I'm gonna do something real quick. Oh, I can't pick. Huh, okay. So I am tempted to go for the storage slot. It does cost me iron, but yeah, we'll run with that. So we'll stick the plant matter in here for now. But I have a couple of specific ideas about how we're going to do this. So we'll go to crew. And we will go to Nix. Oh, sorry, Nix is our captain. Sergey is currently on the drill. Now put him on the refinery. So now I go back to the hold. There's my refinery, so we'll enter the refinery. And in this case, I'm just going to go with all 30 of the minerals. There's a small argument that maybe I should only go 15 so that I can free up the slot, but not have to generate any more. But honestly, we already have quite a few of the extra resources that we need. So in this case, I'm just going to go nuts. Your entire laptop hard drive now is taken up by your Total Warhammer 3. Actually, I'm curious. Let's see how big this game is. The Steam page says it is 10 gigabytes available space. That might have a little spare overhead, so let me just see. 10.63 according to Steam. Copper's good for repairing the hull. So minerals give you the probability of finding... Oh, we definitely need the cobalt. This is going to get awkward. Oh, wow. I got an achievement for that. Omega, this black shining material appears stable, yet it continuously recombines the protons and electrons at its core. It is also the key to great power. This resource can be found on stars, in space, on civilized planets, or during expeditions. This resource is always acquired in small quantities and on mysterious occasions. So I'm actually curious, Irrepressible, what do you think of Total War 3? I played a little bit of it, but I know I'm not the best one to evaluate the Total War games, I feel. So I'm curious what a fan thinks of them. So the thing I want to eventually build... nope, not the communication station. I want to eventually build the gravitation... Hang on! What did I need the cobalt for, then? Huh. Okay, so apparently I need one more thorium and it's platinum that I need. Either way, we'll work it out. Oh, right, I wanted it for the communication station, but we already have a communication station, so that's not a big deal. I haven't played it yet, but I know it's been kind of divisive. Yeah, it's funny, like, you came in while I was talking about the idea of, like, very, very aggressively asserted game opinions. Jesus, we're really close to the edge here. I don't want to waste the Omega if I can avoid it. But we need to find a... 6. Oh, man, I don't think we're going to have enough to... I think we'll have enough to get into the system, but I don't think we'll have enough to be able to to actually get to one of the giants. So right now we're trying to get to a region called Atlas. Oh, this is interesting. So there's actually a garden planet here. Okay, so we do have enough fuel. But yeah, so the prime directive is to have the ship survive as well as the 2 primary crew members. But in this case, so at the start of this game, there is a malevolent entity called Archon, which we were transporting to a prison planet. We were attacked on the way to the sort of the drop-off, and we escaped through the kind of these cryopods and have woken up 100 years after the events. And so Archon has sort of established this grand republic and subjugated, countless worlds and has an unstoppable fleet. So we, first of all, sort of wake up on the planet that we crash landed on and just have to get off the rock. Following that, we go to the site where we were originally ambushed to try and recover whatever we can. That's actually where I got the ship that I'm currently on. And from that ship, we have now gotten coordinates of where this Archon fleet seemed to be going, which is this area called Atlas, and that's currently where it's picked up. Now, presumably we will find additional information as we go by, but right now, if I don't find fuel, I'm probably stuck. So it says here, if it reaches 0, the ship begins to drift through space. A slow death is inevitable. I am curious if you have the resources you need, if the game will sort of condemn you to death when you hit 0. I guess we'll find that out, because I need to get some resources anyway. Okay, actually, I've got an idea about how I'm going to handle this. So yeah, we don't really have any wriggle room, but what I can do is I can assign him to the hydrogen probe. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to go to a depth of 1. And that's basically going to fuel the next probe. So we need 2 for the next location. Beautiful. So this is basically us getting to survival level, and now what we're going to do is we're going to move to the other gas giant to like really mine the hell out of this thing. Again, I really like the visual style for this game. Okay, so we're going to do our usual aggressive sort of 7 mining here. That's going straight into the... That cost me 7. We'll get 12 back here, but I actually don't think it's worth it to go any further. How are we... Okay, so we've got Fatigue 1. I'm mildly tempted to try this garden planet, but we can probably get more oxygen by... not really. Well, I want to see what this white dwarf is. There's a black hole, but I don't feel like there would be much for us to work with on a black hole. Incidentally, Irrepressible, just so active, so past mistakes, returning to the scene of the attack, going to the Atlas. The Archon wanted to go to the Atlas. We should go there and find out why. So I want to see what a white dwarf gets me. Hopefully a garden planet, because we do actually need the oxygen, but... we are contacted by a nomadic vessel cobbled together from odds and ends, painted with bright colors. It's a ship full of pilgrims who have devoted themselves to a god of joy. The passengers are inviting us to join them for a celebration. This is where we get the Twitch integration to get chat to vote on. I mean, gods of joy sound good. The entire crew, excepting Captain Nix, joins the party. So, Sergey. We spent several hours in joyful atmosphere, which transforms our hitherto subdued demeanors. We've regained the energy to work for days. The oxygen level has fallen by 10. This system contains a storage array. It can be activated to manually save your progress. Only this type of save will be preserved after a game over event. Oh, cool. Okay. So, I noticed the White Dwarf has sort of one of everything. So, I don't know if that's true all the time, but I'm definitely going to make a note of that. Sorry, I'm just, I have a tablet by me to make notes. This can only go, how you doing, Woban? Out There, Oceans of Time saves progress in 2 different ways. Automatically each time you quit the game, and by activating the storage arrays, which allow a manual save to be made. Only this manual save is preserved after a game over event. Okay. That's an interesting idea. Now, it seems to me I have a specific order in which I want to do these things. So the first thing we want to do is visit Rebecca 283-3, and this is so that we can fill up our oxygen. It also means we're going to be able to go on an expedition. Well, potentially go on an expedition.
Oxygen low.
Yeah, well, we knew that was going to happen. So we are going to land. So just being present on the world is sufficient to sufficient to replenish my oxygen. Now, what I'm noticing here is that it says here oxygen, so platinum. Now, I'm kind of taking this as an indicator that if I drill, there is the chance that I will get platinum from this world. So we're gonna assign the ever vigilant Sergey. I probably should be a little more egalitarian in terms of the assignment, but oh, I should also figure out. Oh, there's a difference. Cool. I am definitely going to pay closer attention to that in future. Anyways, yeah, we're going to drill here. I've got the fuel and we've got a gas giant in the region, so I want to see if we can get some platinum. Well, that's good for oxygen. And if I need the extra hull, I can do it. But again, we still need the platinum. I don't actually have any evidence that we get platinum from this stuff, but I'm going to try, damn it. I think we can just afford to throw away the oxygen at this point. Once more with feeling.
Equipment damaged.
Okay, so I'm not going to freak out too much about the oxygen. There is kind of an argument to say throw away the plants, because we haven't had any use for them up to this point. But I'm going to resist the urge to do that. What I am going to do, though, is stop by... I don't really need the copper here, so we're going to repair as much of the hull as we can. We're actually going to go straight to the... I'm going to go straight to the gas giant for more fuel. Okay, so once again, we are on the cosmic folder, but what I want to be on is the interplanetary navigator to reduce my fuel costs. So we'll go to fuel land. And once again, we will reassign Sergei to the hydrogen probe. We're going to probe pretty aggressively, but I'm not necessarily going to be able to get, like, everything out of it, so...
Fuel tank damaged.
Okay, that's 2 iron, so I want to be a little careful on my damage, but... we're starting to see... I'm going to do a 5 here, because I may not actually get a return. Yeah, we lost 1 fuel on that. I'll be honest, I wish I wound up with a little more fuel. And also, we're okay for hull. So I think I'm just going to find the next refueling location. After we visit the save point, of course. Data saved in the storage array. It's got a few achievements here. I'm just curious. Just going to take a second here and see what we got. First step to Jupiter Jazz, build a module. Stars are mine, build a technology. Young bird, complete an expedition. Slow and steady, end a village or mining plant area expedition. Fascinating, fully scan a planet. Favorable odds, obtain some omega using the refinery. Gaudium, maintain morale above 95 for 5 turns. Haggle, then trade, make a trade. Okay, that's definitely from when I was trying before. Blue Danube, activate a storage array. Story of your life, study the language of the gods, and thus spoke Zarathustra. Start your journey. There's some neat achievements in here, actually. But that will be a conversation for another time. I'm going to reassign Nyx to be better at interplanetary travel now. And if I can, I'm actually going to prioritize some blue giants here because clearly we still need more fuel. And as it would happen, this blue giant is kind of on the way. It's on the way enough, let's say. Okay. Man, that's a menacing looking... I mean, I gotta go to it just because it looks cool. So we will assign Nyx to the interplanetary navigator just to save us on fuel costs. You'll notice, I should maybe highlight it a little bit more. There's a variable cost in terms of the hull because we don't have a shield generator. So this was one of the more expensive ones at 5 hull. Now I'm not too worried about it because we do have some leftover copper and iron if it comes down to it. I suppose iron and copper is a very famous password from an earlier game. I mean, assuming that, you know, you fought in World War II and play video games from that time, but... in this case here, I'm just going to do the probe. There's not much else to do but probe in these cases, but I... Oh, we're still on the hydrogen probe. And this is definitely a spend money to make money sort of thing. For some reason, I just like to use 7 fuel. I mean, actually, you know what? Let's go hard. Cool. Okay, we got a ridiculous amount out of that. I'm not going to pull that trick again. We'll go to 7 this time, but... Yeah, so we netted 1 extra fuel out of that, and we have to repair the hydrogen probe. So maybe not the best trade-off. I'm most worried actually about our diminishing iron resources now. But I do want more fuel, so we are going to zoom out and check out this other gas giant. So it worked well for us last time. I think I'm just gonna go for a heavy... Yeah, okay, so it actually seems to be pretty deterministic. The reason I do this is that, so I spend 10 fuel on this probe. I get 20 hydrogen as a result. That 20 hydrogen translates into 40 fuel, so it's a net of 30 for me here. In this case, we'll roll it back. I'll try a 5 in this case here. Yeah, so that is actually... we lost fuel on that, but we did better previously, so I don't feel too bad about where that went. But yeah, in this case here, I'm a little... so as far as we're concerned, I don't have a major... like, I don't have a major crisis to deal with. I generally would like to be in a better situation as far as my iron is concerned, and it's really more because if you take a look at all of the things that can get fixed, I guess, sorry, there's one exception here. The interplanetary reactor needs carbon, which we've got plenty of, but all of my other modules basically use iron. Oh, sorry, I did not realize the refinery also needed thorium. But yeah, so for the most part, like, we're capable of repairing everything as long as we have enough iron, and iron is the thing that we're kind of drawing down because we went so aggressive on getting fuel. But I suspect what I'm going to be doing is giving a mild priority to Rocky Worlds for at least until I feel a little more secure in my iron supply. And we're ready to go between systems. So we're also ready to go on an expedition. So there's a mild priority for... Rocky and Garden Worlds. I'm going to try this white dwarf partly for experimentation. It seemed like we got one of everything the last time we did this. Upon arriving in the system, we are confronted by a large ship aiming its guns directly at us. The communication system transmits these words: Roar Nidifsris ont le Laxgoa. Laxgoa Tokik Ganusiri Roar. Jesus. I'm hoping it doesn't expect me to, like, write down the words that we know. So I think you all remember how this ended when we tried this in Starflight. Let's explain the mission. The captain attempts to communicate, but we lack the vocabulary to explain the situation. It appears the inhabitants of the system reject all intruders, which we are. They fire on us, and we are forced to flee. So 20 damage and a broken slot. Jesus Christ. That's definitely a costly error. Fortunately, we do have the ability to check out other worlds. So, here's how I think I'm going to play this. I'm going to start on the Rocky world because I'm going to use up a lot of fuel and just other resources to fill up my fill up my ship. Then we're going to go to the Garden World for an expedition, and we will end on the gas giant, because at that point I'll know what my iron situation's like. So basically I'm going to treat it like I have an unlimited amount of fuel, which is not strictly true, but it's helpful to pretend that it is. Also, what's it going to cost me to... well, I guess traditionally this is a technology slot, but a module slot, but it doesn't have to be, because I don't actually have a module for it yet. So we're not going to repair that. Put you on the drill. I mean, it feels like the fuel is the same cost, so maybe moving characters doesn't actually mean that much. Okay, we will land. And again, this is all about drilling. So actually, at the risk of being really reckless with my fuel, because I don't think we're going to be able to get like a full 10, but this one I want to go hard on the most profitable drill. Cool, that definitely paid off. So this, again, remembering this is not just for hull, but this is for repairing as well. So we'll ratchet it back a little bit. Okay. I'll try one more at 7. Yeah, that probably wasn't worth it, but we can recover a little bit of a hull here. Okay. So, Sergey... Actually, not going to change where Sergey's at yet. So remembering the next step is the garden world, and that's because of the... not just the oxygen, but the chance to explore. Ooh, tasty. Okay, so this one we can't really... I mean, okay, there is the possibility here that we have another option, but we don't have anybody with the skill yet. So it seems to me if we're going to go on a 3-skull mission, we should at least have an idea about how we're going to achieve the objective. So beta is available. It's still risky. We can get some omega out of it, which is cool. Minerals I'm less excited about, if I'm completely honest, but there may be some possibilities there. And Seam of Resources, that is something that Sergey's going to be able to handle. Finally, a village. Now, the answer to that one is pure omega. It's also quite deadly. We didn't save that long ago. What's the point of going on a space adventure if you're not risking your life, right? So again, because we've landed on a garden world, we automatically get the oxygen. I am tempted to drill, but we're going to drill after doing the expedition. And the reason I want to drill is because there's the possibility we can get platinum. There's no guarantee, but I'd like to try and... I'd like to at least give it a try and see if it turns out. Also worth remembering, Nyx is really only going to get one action until we get to the objective. Sergey is going to be the one who I'd prefer to use the abilities for. Okay. So, tempting, but I'm not quite ready to inflict damage on my crew yet. Actually, it's completely unnecessary for me to inflict damage on my crew. There's another way around. Now again, plants don't really count for a whole lot for me. Yeah, I'm not going to make the Tundra Herbal Tea because it costs action points. So this is a lot more about scouting. I don't want to go through a danger... I don't want to go through a danger zone until I have a better read on what the situation is. So this is a village, but it doesn't seem to be the village. I'm actually more inclined to investigate a little bit more on this planet before visiting the village. The only reason for that is I don't know if this is going to make demands on my skills. Yes, not enough highways to the danger zones here. That's really the problem that I have. I've only ever seen a little bit of the TV series Archer, but I'm ashamed to admit, as much as I really enjoyed the danger zone bit that they had, it took me several episodes to realize that that's Lana's ringtone on Archer's phone. And I cackled like a maniac as soon as I found that out. So if you're wondering why I'm avoiding these caches, I think there was another Could have sworn there was another one. Yeah, over here. I'm avoiding them because I do have the chest scavenger. Now, I suspect this is probably going to not work once I've already revealed the chests, but I'm trying to get myself the option to use action points for Sergei because I do believe you get more experience for using action points. So in this case here, I'm just giving myself options. Just giving myself options earlier in the mission so that I can kind of make my best decisions when it's less costly. So like I don't want to go here if I can avoid it. This sort of stuff I'm fine picking up because there doesn't seem to be any cost associated with it. Okay, so either way, I'm potentially taking damage to go into this part of the map. So if I go through here, I'm going to have to... Yeah, so everything in here is protected by some kind of a damaging tile. Which again, is fine. I want to be clear on those costs before I go places I shouldn't be. And I think as a starter, I am actually gonna I'm gonna unpack those chests and I'm gonna go to the village. Oh, shouldn't have done that. There is another path. So normally when you find the objective, there's like a big arrow pointing to it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a little reluctant to go into some of these spots. So, you know, in this case here, I got a little lucky in finding another way around. Again, I think I'm out of luck. So in terms of entryways, right, we've got this path down here is blocked. This path is blocked. This path is blocked, and this path is blocked. So if there's a way sort of down below, we haven't seen it, and we're not able to access it. But yeah, so what I'll do is I will pick up the chest. I will visit this village. Then I'll visit this reconnaissance. And then this is the most likely location for an objective for us, so I will follow up in that location afterwards. Sorry, I realize it's hard to see where my characters are because I'm kind of zipping all over the map. I know where the characters are, so I feel okay zipping around, but I realize that can be a little annoying. Oh, I made a mistake. I don't want to go through the suffocating mushrooms. So far as I can tell, there isn't a cost for taking a long time on a world. So if you want to take like a really circuitous route to the village, like I'm doing here, so far as I can tell, there is no penalty for doing so. However, I suspect the reason why you don't want to do that is if you are affected by some kind of deadly, like, so if there's something that's potentially going to kill one of your crew members. Especially one of your ones who it's like... So if either one of these crew members dies, it's a fail state. I need to get some red shirts in the crew to make it really worthwhile. The trade-off is like if I have these really long and winding paths and there's a damage over time that I get from one of these things, that can actually mean the difference between life and death for a character. So I think that's kind of the way that the game sort of discourages you from doing what I'm doing, which is that when you are calm, you're fine. You can take your time. And when you are wounded, every second counts, and you do actually want to maximize your mobility, which I actually think is kind of neat. I think that's a neat way of modeling, you know, those kinds of circumstances. Out there, Away Team. Did you get a chance to watch when I was playing the Away Team Irrepressible? That was one of the ones that Valiant Cheese worked on, actually. I realize that's just a name that you gave it, but I was mildly curious if you were if you'd seen me have that experience. All right, enter the village. Villages are places of exchange. Their inhabitants speak exclusively in the language of the gods. Lexgoa, Oxlim, Trignira, Nilerator, Loranan, Roar, Lanofork, Laxgoa, Roar, Ninad, Oxlim. So, I really do feel like I'm pretty sure I learned Roar at some point. I'm a bit surprised that it doesn't give me the translation. Your spokesperson's reply during this exchange may influence your reputation in the village. Over the course of the journey, you will learn to speak the language of the gods, and these discussions will become easier. I mean, it might as well be a coin toss, I think. After our response, the alien does not move. It emits a sound much like a purr. A good reputation gives the crew access to rarer items while trading. It also makes stronger recruits available. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can recruit. We cannot because we do not have the capacity for it. So let's see if we can trade. Okay, platinum is a high priority for me. Shield generator would be good. We've been trying to get one of those for a while. I wish I knew what the I wish I knew what the cost for some of this stuff was. Okay, we'll start with this. Platinum is definitely a high priority for me, and I think one of the things I'm going to try and do is trade out. So, like, we've got lots of items. So I can definitely give up some of my doubles. So in this case, they want the sacred ointments. We will oblige them. I'm not going to give up the ones I have equipped, obviously, but couple of headlamps. So I'm curious if the common one or the uncommon one. So it does feel like the uncommon one. Because of the percent base. Okay. There's 10% less chance of being affected by dazed. Well, we haven't run into dazed yet, so we'll sweeten the pot with those. The Ornament of the Abyssal helps us with our bleed. Lockpicking kit. Each time a chest is opened, the crew gains 4 experience points. That's actually a pretty good item to keep going. I do like the sacred ointments. And actually, this is a... Yeah, I'll go for the upgrade. I wish I knew what the Wind Reader and Onyx and such, so it doesn't necessarily seem to have that big of an effect. Now, one thing I can do here is start trading out certain... Oh yeah, plants. Close. Just trying to see if I can get a little more on the trade. What did I do wrong here? It definitely feels like something changed pretty dramatically with the trade. I'm happy to add more, but ooh, tasty. All right. That's a big trade. I don't know how I feel about giving up the Omega. Well... I do actually think I need silicon for something, so something a little more even might work. And can I... Oh wow, this is like really pushing it. They're like mad at me now. Yeah, I feel like I'm giving up quite a bit more than I used to for all this stuff. This might be a dumb observation, but this doesn't really look like a being with a lot of possessions. Oh, they've got quite a bit here. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with this anymore. No recruitment to do, so we will leave the village. So that was definitely not the village we needed to do stuff with. But we got a lot of stuff, so that's, you know, getting stuff. That's the reason we do things. We're not saving the world from Archon. Oops, space survival tips. Swiftness is a status applied to a character's speed. It grants an important bonus. Similarly, enhanced vision is a status applied to vision. It also grants a bonus. These status effects can be acquired temporarily via the passive use of an object, the active use of a skill, or by completing certain events during expeditions. Now, this is triggered multiple times for us, so I'm a little curious why the game is telling me about this now. But I am grateful that it is trying to teach me to play, so I'm not gonna turn down the advice. Okay, reconnaissance. We encounter a primitive village whose native population was, at some point, cleared out to make way for explorers of every creed and race. They have turned the area into an outpost. We are greeted very warmly and invited to rest. The conversations are pleasant, and eventually the question of the Archon is brought up. They ask if we serve the head of the Republic. No. They appear troubled by the response. To them, opposing the Archon is an indication of rebellion and untrustworthy motives. They ask us to leave immediately or else. We're not intimidated by their threat, but we agree to vacate the region. We leave apprehensive about the fanaticism of Archon's servants and its hold over worlds even as distant as this. Okay. So I think the time has come. Like, I've dodged it for as long as I can, but it's clear at this point, if I'm going to be making any progress, I need to be like moving into this gray area. It seems to me this is the only remaining possibility for the trials. So I have a bit of a game plan in mind. I think what I want to do is I think I'm going to start near the village. The hope is that we will be able to move up through this region here. If we get into too much of an emergency, Ooh. It's actually a pretty nasty little trap. So like if we're in an emergency, we need to go through either the bleed or the suffocation, and then potentially another source of damage. Well, clearly the answer is just don't die. I screwed up again. I always find a way in here, but I always find it after... Yeah, okay. Again, there doesn't seem to be a consequence for me spending a long time on the planet. Even on ones that seem like they would be hostile, like you have you don't it doesn't feel like you take damage unless you go over one of the tiles that explicitly causes damage. Okay. So I don't know if like running through stuff will prevent... Oh, looks like I'm dropping some frames. Stream still looks kind of weak, so I'm just going to give it a little while to sort itself out. Sorry, I realize this is really tedious, but... Okay, looks like we're back to where we need to be. But yeah, so I don't know if there's any difference. I definitely feel like you get punished if you end a turn inside of one of these. I don't know if like trying to run as fast as you can through them changes anything. But we're going to do this because it'll maximize my exploration. And we've got bleed, but it's only two hits of bleed. And as predicted, there is our goal in here. So again, if it gets hairy, we're gonna have to actually go through potentially 3 damaging locations. So I'd prefer not to have to do that. But again, it depends on how this all turns out. Okay, we arrive in a village. The population is welcoming yet wary. We are very keen to learn about their guardian god, a simple stone statue that we suspect is full of Omega. We are not allowed to approach the object until we go through the clan's ritual trials. We could take part, but the village inhabitants won't describe what the trials entail. So we could poise as envoys to the gods if we had the skill, but we don't, so we will send the survivalist to tackle the trials. The trials are formidable. First, our survivalist is tattooed using Omega, an incredibly painful process. Second, they are told to hunt down a particularly elusive predator, which they manage after 2 nights of tracking. Finally, they must spend an entire night alone, meditating before the clan's stone god. During this trial, they spend the dark hours quietly siphoning the Omega contained within the figure. We leave at dawn, magnificent cargo in tow. Okay, so we're in good shape here. I'm gonna cross. So one thing I'm gonna do is use the heal on. We'll also use the nanostabilizers. Again, I'm trying to use up the ability points if I can. I don't know if I want to deliberately damage my team. Screw it. One every 2 rounds, so there we go. Oh, am I not allowed to... Oh, it costs minerals! Interesting. I should have paid attention to that. Okay, I mean, unlucky, won't get as much experience, but that was definitely a good run for us. And level up. So yeah, this is a bit of a shame, but I'm really happy that we got all these blueprints because we're going to be heading to a save point pretty soon. Okay, level up points. So we could level up health. We could improve cataplasm. So we heal 3 health for the same action. So I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling to see the value. Okay, so like, don't get me wrong. Swiftness is cool. Improved field of vision is cool. Is it like 1 action point and 4 plants cool? I'm not so sure. In fact, I would argue that improving the number of action points that I have is probably the biggest priority for me. So let's maybe start with that. Ah, okay, so I only get 1. I'm actually probably more inclined. So, like, there's a side of me that says it would be really good to improve the health because this is one of the characters who, if they die, the run is over. But the ability to trade 1 point, which I just gained for healing 3 points, kind of feels like, I don't know, like that feels better, especially because I can apply that to the other member of the team who, if they die, the game's over. So that's how I justify it. That was also probably a lot longer than people wanted that run to be, but I think that's a good day's work that we had there. So we're close to the sales that we want. Doesn't solve my immediate problem, but where's my iron? Oh, we've got 20. I'm gonna have to switch it out for something at some point, but for now, I'm gonna live with this. And we are going to move Sergey is now going to go to the refinery. It's mostly to free up this slot, although the damage is kind of already done. Hey, we netted out the iron that we wanted. So like this will eventually become a module or a technology slot again. I just need to, I kind of need to move around my resources where I can. If I want, I can drill again, but is there any benefit to doing that? I think I've kind of already drilled this planet out, right? I actually don't remember, but I think the time has come to try and get some fuel and save. Oops, a little too far there. Okay, so we're heading to the gas giant. There will be a cost to hull and oxygen and all of that, but the point here is to fill up as much as we can on the fuel, and then that'll give us a good spot for the save. So, as usual, we're going to go for the big number. And then we go for the smaller number. Oof! Yeah, so we're not really saving any fuel. I mean, again, I'm still okay with how that turned out. We netted a fairly reasonable amount, but it definitely would have been nice to get something a little bit more. Basically, you get 2 fuel so you have to spend fuel to be able to extract it. Each hydrogen gives you 2 fuel. So I spent 5 to get 2 hydrogen, which means that I had to give 1 fuel back. So we gained 40 for 10, so net 30. We lost 1, so we gained 29 fuel, which is a decent day's work, but it does mean that we're going to be trying to recover fuel sooner rather than later. Either way, though, we have an obvious next step. Obviously, we pay a little bit to go to the storage array, but I think it's worth it, especially after all of the blueprints we got. I'm pretty happy with where my ship is. Data saved in the storage array. So I'll admit, when I say this game is... So I've noticed on the Steam tags this doesn't say roguelike, and I realize nowadays, like, roguelike... So I get annoyed when I hear people, it's like, well, the Berlin interpretation says, like, yeah, but who made that, right? Like, I don't think there's, like, a standards committee to determine what a roguelike is. So it's kind of hard to say that this is like one save and you're done. Obviously, the game's pretty clear that any saves that aren't in these locations, you lose. But it sort of feels like if you don't have one of these, you just start a new game and you decide if you want to do the tutorial or not. But, you know, on the other hand, they also talk about how the galaxy changes each time you play. So... You know, it sort of seems to me to be living in this sort of... And there's the idea of learning the words. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to be something that I keep in the back of my head, or if that's something that the... What is this again? Oh, right, I can build a mess hall. Well, I can't because I don't have the resources, but I have the option of building a mess hall. But yeah, I don't know, like, I feel... like this is probably close enough to the... Like, okay, so the thing that matters usually when you say roguelike is, like, does the person you are speaking to have a better idea of what playing the game is like? And, you know, if I'm thinking of this game, I'm probably making incremental progress over multiple sessions. I'm maybe not being reset exactly back to zero, but it seems like things are going to be different each time I run through. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I can probably see why it doesn't have the roguelike title in the description, but it does, like, this save system does kind of feel at least approximating that. But I don't know. I always feel like if ever I say something like that, there's going to be someone who's like, well, actually, if you'd read everything that I read in game school, you'd know what you said doesn't make any sense at all. How dare you? All right. 35 years. We can at least see it. I kind of feel like a rocky planet might be a good idea. Well, I mean, for novelty, maybe we check out the neutron star. We'd still be able to make it to a red planet, I feel. Yeah, let's see what a neutron star gives us. I'm assuming nothing. Distant signal. Our sensors detect a high-frequency signal from beyond, a large moon that orbits at the very edge of the system. It's very unusual, and we find ourselves wondering if we can decrypt it. So we can ask a member of the crew for their expertise. We gain minerals in exchange for oxygen. We can decrypt the written signal. We gain an alien word, but apparently we lose a module blueprint. I don't really think I want to lose... Well, no, that just means we missed the mess hall. Communication station module blueprint has been deleted from the database and exchanged for a new word. Yeah, that's a pretty heavy cost. So first of all, it looks cool as hell. A lot of garden worlds. Yeah, I guess if I'd known I'd be dealing with garden worlds, it would have been better to give up the oxygen. I definitely made the wrong call there. Well, no, that's not true, because we wouldn't have gotten the word then. I think, though, yeah, we need another system before we can go on an expedition, so in this case, I think we'll just pass the neutron star by, but I am going to take a second here and make a note. So I'm starting to write down the words that I'm learning, just in case the game doesn't save them. And what I'm also interested in is what types of planets I find. So we found 3 garden worlds in the presence of a neutron star. And this is just me kind of... This is all about just making sure that I can do appropriate resource management. We are getting a little short on hull, but I also have an opportunity to really make it sing as far as the fuel is concerned. So we're going to push ahead to the blue giant, and if I need, I can just do a detour to one of these red giants. Okay. So I didn't highlight this before, but it gives you a pretty good, clear idea of what the consequence is for your move. So in this case here, I give up 2 fuel, that's guaranteed. I give up 6 oxygen, again, guaranteed, but the fuel is the hull is indeterminate. I could give up anything from 1 to 10. And that's something I want to kind of keep in mind. So I'm going to be, like, one way I like to think about this is that I'm going to be visiting 2 gas giants. I could get very unlucky, and then I'm down to 32 hull. And at that point, I may need to make some decisions in terms of, what I'm willing to give up. Do I give up some of that iron? Do I, try and go a little bit further in terms of travel? Like, there's a few different ways that I can mitigate the hull, but I want to keep that sort of stuff in mind, so I'm not surprised if I get like really hammered by a trip. So in this case. Okay, yeah, 8 hull. Like in this case, this really did lay into me. Okay, we still have the hydrogen probe up. So we've done well when we go for 10 here. Oh wow, that really sang. That makes me happy. I'm going to try a probe again. This time I'm going to do 5. This historically has not worked well for us, so this will be the last time I try it if we get 2, but I want to see if that's deterministic. Yeah. So we're going to do the same trick, but we're going to do that on this gas giant. So yes, we're giving up hull, but this is the point where we're now going to have a nice little stack of hydrogen to carry us through our day. So again, we throw 10. And I'm going to do something a little counterintuitive here. I'm actually going to probe again, but this time I'm going to do 2. Okay. So a 10 and 2 combo is where I want to be heading. And I know I'm going to be putting Sergey on a drill next, so we'll queue him up. So this is the closest to Atlas. I could try and do like an intermediate move, but again, I don't need to be too nitpicky about where I travel. Okay, only one rocky planet. With luck, there will be... Oh, I forgot to do the interplanetary travel. That's fine. Okay, yeah, so we do have... Okay, so we've got the Alpha Anomaly, which would have an expectation for someone who knows how to talk to the aliens, although it does have the potential benefit of an alien word. Or the Beta Anomaly. I'll be honest, there is a side of me that wants to take a chance on the Alpha Anomaly, given the fact that they're equally dangerous, and while it is possible we will fail this, the payoff is so big. Like, so contrast this between minerals and an object. Now, minerals is going to take up storage space, which is going to be pretty inconvenient for me. And then I can contrast that to the Omega, which we already have a space for, an alien word, which we've been trying to get, and blueprints. This is one where I'm willing to risk failure Because traditionally the challenges we've had have had some kind of another option. Sometimes it's the same option. So there is always the worry that I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but we'll see. Also, I need to remind myself I owe you one drill, because the more I think of it, the more that last world I kind of think we didn't actually. I'm kind of thinking we didn't actually use the thing we were supposed to. This is also our last journey with our sacred ointments. So, oh, and the geological radar. Okay, lots of new things happening next. Next expedition. Okay, so same story as before. We're going to scout around. We're going to try and find the objective first, and then if I have to go through dangerous areas, we will do that when all of the other options are closed. Sergei looks cooler in his portrait. That's true. I mean, I think there's also a lot of detail in his costume. Yeah, so like this is a perfect example here where I want to try this, but I want to try this after I do the trial or the event. Ooh. They're not kidding that this is a deadly world. Okay, well, there it is. Now again, traditionally when we encounter tasks like this, we usually just lose. Like it usually just says you need to know how to talk to aliens or you're done. But like I said, the possibilities from this event make the risk worth it, in my opinion. Cool. All right. After many hours, we reach the mission's objective. We thought it was a temple of some kind, but up close, we find the structure is an enormous bunker of unimaginable proportions, bigger than a mountain. Electricity still flows within. As we advance into the heart of the building, the corridors light up in response to our presence. Everything is old, dusty. It has been abandoned. In the center lies a computer complex. It appears to be powered by an underground tower, atop which rests an Omega reactor. What was it used for? So we could retrieve the Omega, we could hack the computer terminal, or we can interact with the computer. Let's try interacting with the computer. Our xenolinguist is confident that they can interact with the system. We don't have one. It proves challenging, but there are many failed attempts. Eventually, though, they succeed, and what they discover is unbelievable, truly amazing. The beings who once lived on this planet found themselves threatened by cellular degeneration. In response, they built an eternal machine that transferred their consciousness into it. Since then, they have been living inside computer-generated worlds that they designed for one another. A power civilization indeed. They gift us a copy of their database so that we can learn more. They also include a piece of technology which will no doubt help in our travels. The expedition has been a total success. It will profoundly alter our societies when we return. So we found one Omega, and I am going to take another minute here just to write down a new word. What I'll do is, after the stream, I'll watch the VOD and record the words that I got previous. So in this case, I'm just trying to use as many skill points as I can to... Or actually, I guess we have challenges coming up. I maybe shouldn't be wasting those until I've done everything. But I know I can afford to use my yellow skills in Solaria now. Or action points, sorry. I should use the proper terminology. Steel beams form a gossamer structure adorned with clinging vegetation that blows in the wind. It's not a terrestrial structure, but rather a ship that crashed here, possibly eons ago. So we could recover materials. Morale goes up in exchange for health points. Search for personal effects. Morale goes down in exchange for an object, or avoid the wreck entirely. Let's search for personal effects. And we found a space cat. I mean, the morale's got to go up for finding a space cat. I'm generally confident in my ability to get my morale back up, and honestly, we've been at 100 forever, so I'm not too worried about my ability to get back to high morale. So again, we're going to check this out first, and then we'll sort of double back and see if we can get those goodies. Our expedition comes across the strangest of residences, a magnificent villa apparently built by a wealthy hermit and maintained by an army of robots. A mechanical butler guides to the lord of the estate, who has been dead for centuries. Its withered corpse sits on the patio, overlooking the view and quite unaware of its retinue or guests. We relieve the lord of a valuable item and prepare to leave. However, the butler blocks our way, saying, "The master did not say you could leave." So we could leave anyway, overcome the robot, and if we had a xenolinguist, we could trick the robot. But no, we're Captain Nyx, the one-eyed punching captain of out there. With one lone strike to the most vulnerable place, our survivalist subdues the robot. We depart this sinister residence in peace, leaving the remaining legion of robots to do their work. And another lockpicking kit. Those are actually kind of neat. So those will give me some extra experience from finding chests. So to be honest, I probably should have equipped one of those already, but I'm content to let Sergei's detector kind of wear out first. The passive. Oh, there isn't even a passive bonus for it. Alright, never mind then. I think that's just the game telling me I can activate my ship if I want. Or possibly finding the chests, I'm not sure. Yeah. So nothing applies here. I'm not going to be able to do anything with my nano stabilizers right now, but can take a... Okay, so Nyx is affected by asphyxia. So I can do cataplasm, walk around, hit it again. And just a cheap way for me to use all my action points. Do you want to board the ship and end the expedition? Yes. Oh, cool. Our morale's probably at 100 again? Because if we got 10 for the objective complete... Well, then again, I guess it depends the order in which this happened. Okay, so this is a little bit of a dilemma. I need the space. The easiest way for me to get it is just to throw the oxygen in here. So first thing we're going to do is change the assignments around. We'll put Sergei in the refinery. Oh, not going to drill yet. And again, the reason I usually do this is just it feels like minerals just kind of clog up my ship. Like, I've already got one of everything, and this is admittedly because I drilled a bunch of minerals, but at this point here, like, I might as well just kind of commit to it and use as many as I can. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, this is all stuff we already had. So the net is I get an extra, I get an extra slot. It's hard to complain. I mean, I guess we gave up an oxygen reserve for that, but if we get desperate, we can put the platinum in, I suppose. Okay. Next up, we're gonna drill. Why are we gonna drill? Oh, because my ship's falling apart. I'm going to try the same trick as before. We're going to go heavy on the first run. Anything above the 20 we're going to put into... This time I'm going to try a 7.
Equipment damaged.
Yeah, it's maybe not a huge surprise. Question is if there's any benefit to me trying one more round. I think I will, but we're just going to do a 2. Not worth it. Okay. I wish my hull was in better shape. I have the option so I can get another... I can basically put myself up to full health if I use the copper and the iron, but I'm not going to yet. Yeah, it's just the one rocky planet. Okay, I do need to wrap up reasonably soon. But I do want to try and get to Atlas. I'm going to do the Yellow Dwarf. I don't think I'm actually going to land on the world, though. I believe my crew still has its point of exhaustion. Oh, the crew's morale couldn't be better. One of our companions, carried away by his enthusiasm, has suggested that a small party be organized on board. The whole ship buzzes with the suggestion. A party is an excellent idea, but it's also an unnecessary waste of resources. We're on an important mission, one with many potential ramifications if it fails. Throw the party. There's a very memorable party, allowing the crew to share personal stories and show off the customs of their people. Oxygen's fallen, and we have learned the word of their people. So again, if I want, I can visit the Garden World. The reason why I'm not going to is we have the Tired. We'll have other opportunities to visit Garden Worlds in future. What I want to try and do now is get closer to Atlas. So... I want to just get a quick read. There is a side of me that wants to investigate, but I'm actually a little worried about our fuel reserves if I do too much drilling, so I am going to go to this red supergiant instead. Okay, so I prefer this because I can visit the White Dwarf afterwards and fill up my fuel. Or at the very least, after visiting the White Dwarf, I can go to one of these blue planets. So this one I'm definitely okay mining. Although I forgot to change Nyx to the interplanetary travel. Okay, so low-risk alpha anomaly, we get blueprints and minerals, or, again, low-risk beta anomaly. Potential rewards seem to be a little bit more generous here, so. And we'll do the same routine as last time. I'm going to save the mining to the very end. I'm going to try not to spend as much time on this one, but I do want to, like, I want to properly explore the planet and get the resource. Like, if you're going to play the game, like, play the game. But, okay. Do not walk on fire. It's like lesson number 1 of being a space captain. Oh, crap. I forgot. Yeah, I think I forgot to switch out the gear. I think it counts as a failure if we end the expedition here, so we'll make do with without our objects. I feel like maybe it should probably warn you if you're going in with a like kind of unequipped, but okay, I don't mind doing arena here because we know that Sergei is going to be able to handle the objective. Our expedition decides to cross the ancient ruins of an enormous amphitheater. There is nothing but dust here, despite our instruments showing high levels of energy in the area. One of our companions pulls a spear from the ground. They take a step back, poised and ready to strike. But what is their target? In the next moment we see they are aiming at the rest of the expedition members. Pacify them. Our survivalist meets the attack and parries it. The crazed expedition member strikes again, with greater strength and finesse. During a dodge, our survivalist feigns being trapped against a wall. The crewmate lunges at them, but, with a single leap, the survivalist escapes the nook and slams the attacker's face into the wall. The crewmate falls to the ground, stunned or unconscious. The wall is old enough that it crumbles beneath the blow. Through it, we can see a glimmer of hidden treasures. So I guess Sergei and Nyx have made up? Is that the lore now? Clearly we will try and find another way. Alright, well here's the objective, so let's get that in the bag. After an arduous climb, our expedition makes it to the top of a mountain, upon which rests the wreckage of a ship that we've been trying to locate ever since arriving on the planet. However, the mountain is actually a volcano and the ship is slowly sinking into the magma. As it is sucked downwards, air escapes the pressurized cabin with a howl. This is a dangerous environment. If nothing else, we could salvage the debris around the crash site. So we could send the survivalist to loot the ship or send the engineer to reactivate the vessel. So there's two reasons for this. One, more action points for Sergei, and number two, it is the one that's kind of listed on the tin. So, also, Nyx is able to heal better than Sergei, so... It has all the appearances of a suicide mission, but our engineer insists on taking the risk. They climb across to the ship and disappear inside. When the magma has completely closed over the vessel's hull, we think all hope is lost. However, a roaring noise pulls us back to the edge of the basin, and the ship lifts up in the air, trailing lava from its fuselage. The engineer brings it to a rest at the foot of the mountain. We greet them with shouts of amazement, and then board to see what marvels it contains. So, planetary extension technology. Oh, I think that might be a good one. I seem to remember clicking on a sun at some point. This probably isn't it, but we should take a look. And we got another endowment of the Abyssal. So everything after this point is gravy. I am willing to take some damage at this point, but let's pick up the low-hanging fruit first. We don't need to be like deliberately reckless. When it says drill, I'm wondering if they're referring to the component, because it's definitely not a blueprint. I thought we were going to run onto that. It was... Ooh, the pit. I'm tempted. Let's just take a minute here and see what else we can grab. Again, this is a rare opportunity for us to naturally use up all our action points, so that will maximize not just our experience, but also our returns in terms of all the stuff we can pick up from this expedition. Okay, I think we're good. I guess there's an unknown area here, but we can check that out when we go to the pit. Yeah, so... Well, sorry, there's one... I think this is just going to be a wall, but let's double check. Yep. This, by the way, was kind of one of the worlds I was talking about, so if we take a look, Nyx and... Well, I think that's a clear visor. Yeah, anyway, they've got their helmets on. So in this case here, a garden world is treated the same as a rocky world in terms of your ability to move, like maneuver. The only way that you take damage is if you go over like one of the hazardous territories. And as you can see, there's certain items that will reduce the chance of taking damage from those areas if you happen to be lucky enough to get one. From a good vantage atop a hill, our expedition scouts out an area that looks very rich in minerals. This is no mere mining location, however. In the valley, we spot a species of giant herbivores that First Officer Sergei dubs Diplodosis. Nope. Diplodocusis? Diplodocusis? I don't know. It seems that they travel from all over the continent to die in this location. The decomposition of their bodies causes the very dense accumulation of precious minerals. The introduction of wild animals to the equation gives us pause. This could be dangerous. All right. Those of you who wanted to buy followers, I do have a birthday coming up. This is your last chance. Oh, sorry. Banned too soon. So yeah, we can't do anything with Sergei. This is partly the consequence of me not bringing them on the first expedition. Not by choice, I just didn't know better. But in this case, we're fine. We'll be able to at least use up Nyx's excuse me, use up Nyx's actions. So stay away from the Diplodocuses. The creatures are big and brutish, urging us to remain cautious. We try to skirt the very edges of the valley, keeping away from as many creatures as possible. Even so, some of the Diplodocuses fly into a rage. They try to attack us. Our survivalist hurries to light a fire, which appears to hold them at bay. The flames won't last long, though, so we hurry to collect as much as we can before fleeing. All right, a lot of minerals. I suppose if I need to heal, we have the option with Sergei, but I'd rather not. Again, I think platinum is just something we can only get from a... Sorry, I think I got lost. No, this works. I think platinum is something that we can only get from garden worlds, but I always hold out hope that we'll get a cool and rare material from refining. Hey, level up for Sergei. Okay, so it does seem that the order mattered as far as our morale is concerned, but we're back up to 100, so I don't need to worry too much about that. And we will see what planetary extension does. But first, we're going to level up Sergei. So I think it's pretty obvious. I can't really imagine a situation under which I wouldn't increase my action points. Then, of course, there's the remaining question, like, do I make it more healthy? Do I try and take advantage of something like nanostabilizers? So Chest Scavenger is a little tempting here because of the intel it gives me, but I tend to be pretty good at detecting the stuff on my own. Like, because there isn't a penalty for me exploring the planet, I don't feel like I need to worry too much about seeing more chests. Now, nanostabilizers here is kind of tempting because it lowers the mineral cost for for health. So in this case, like, it cuts it in half. I don't need to give up 4 minerals. I need to give up 2. But this is one of these situations, while technically I can apply this 4 times, assuming that I have 8 minerals, Nyx is already helping out as far as the healing is concerned. And so in this situation here, I actually think it makes a little more sense to give Sergei some extra health. And I'll admit, like, I am definitely undervaluing that particular... I'm definitely undervaluing that particular ability, but I sort of feel like I'm right, I guess. I don't know. So I kind of faced the same dilemma as I had before. We'll just throw as much hydrogen as we can into the fuel. I will confess, one thing I would kind of prefer in this game would be if I could... like, so the way that the cargo hold works here right now, I actually need a spot for the minerals. And it would be nice if I could just immediately take minerals directly into the refinery. I kind of think I know why they do it. It's sort of like, well, you know, you need to put the minerals on the ship before you can refine them. I'm like, but yeah, they were able to carry 30. So you mean to tell me you can't keep them outside the ship while you get the refining done? But I don't know. It's a choice they made. I would kind of prefer it if I could just directly take the minerals into the slot rather than have to use up my fuel. But I'll just visit a you know, a blue giant. It's not the end of the world. Ooh, we do get plutonium from minerals. Seems like a good day's work as far as hull is concerned. I'm tempted to put this iron straight into the hull. So, first of all, let's just see what it costs me to build certain things. So, planetary extension, rare drill blueprint, a drill attachment that, while drilling, extends probes sideways over a large area, significantly increasing the amount of materials gathered. That sounds like a really good improvement. Can put a shield generator in finally, which will increase our resistance. And also put in gravitational sails to improve the performance and reduce our fuel consumption. So I'm actually in this rather tough little situation where I probably want to convert some of the storage space into like into tech. So the planetary extension is quite tempting in order to be able to get additional resources, but if I don't have the storage space for it, then that raises its own set of questions. So if I were to do planetary extension and shield generator, let's say, no, that wouldn't work. I'm going to put a tech slot down here, though. And we are going to build that shield generator. So this used to be a module. It's worth remembering. So yeah, then I guess the next question is, so how badly do I want that planetary extension? So first of all, I can't get it. That's maybe the first important thing for me to think about. But like, would I be willing to give up a storage slot in order to get it? I think the answer to that might be yes. And I think one of the other ways that I'm going to clear out my... okay, I'm actually going to take a second here with my notebook. So I want to see what my maintenance costs for certain Okay, so just getting an idea of what it costs me to maintain. Ouch. Jesus. So to be able to take care of all of my needs, I need iron, cobalt, carbon, silicon, thorium, gold, tungsten. Tungsten's W, right? Yeah. And copper. So it's actually the platinum is the only thing that I could afford to throw away under this current setup. Well, technically the omega, but there's no way in hell I'm doing that. So one adjustment I may want to make to my ship in the long run. So right now we're taking advantage of the solar sails. What I may want to consider would be, which one was it? Hang on. Yeah, so the interplanetary reactor, that's what I wanted. Gravitational sails. So not only does this give me more thrust, it gets rid of the gold requirement for my maintenance. Unless by some miracle gravitational sails has gold maintenance, but I don't see why it would. So at the very least there, I can remove one of the elements that I need to keep in storage. So there's a side of me that wants to do that, but again, we're going to need to get 2 more platinum, and we're going to need to get 3 more thorium. I should also see, yeah, the superconductor would be nice to build as well. You know, extra resistance is good because that's just going to lower the need for me to get to repair my hull. But again, like, where do I find the space for it all? So this is a neat little way of handling the ship. Let's consider my immediate needs. So, do I still want to drill? Yes. And we're going to do our usual 10. Okay. So, you're going straight into hull. I think at this point, I'm just going to leave it. It'd be nice to get a little bit more for the hull, but, well, no, you know what? I'll give it a 5. Yeah, not worth it. Hafnium. I guess I can always throw it away if it comes down to it. But yeah, I don't really think that was worth it. Okay, so probably a green world makes a little more sense for me to go to. But we'll see. Like in this case, I'm reasonably content with where the hull is right now. Also, if I had assigned him to the drill, he probably would have done better. And, okay, Nyx is on the cosmic folder, which is where I want her. And I just want to double check. Yeah, it's all rocky planets, so no point in pursuing that. So the white dwarf is tempting just because of the oxygen, although I guess I've lost my options as far as... well, no, we can still land on the planet. We just can't explore it. Oh, and there's a save, so there's a couple of advantages for that. This one's going to be a little simpler. So we're going to start with a trip to the garden planet. No. We're going to go to the gas giant first. I've got my gas giant routine down, so...
Ah.
Sorry, this is going to be very mechanical for a little while, but... Oh, interesting. So I only got 16 off of that. I mean, it's still worth it, but... Ouch. Well, I mean, it netted out, but we're down the iron. Okay, so now we go to the garden planet just to boost our oxygen. Now, I'd love to be able to like check out the anomalies and such, but I believe, yeah, we still have the fatigue, so there's nothing we can really do. Although we can still land, like there's nothing preventing us from doing that, and I might as well, drill. We probably don't have too much that I want from the drilling, but I do want the chance of getting the platinum. So with that in mind, we'll grab Sergey. You're back on drill duty. And I guess the question is, do I really want to do 10 to test my luck? The answer is heck yes. I'll trade out the half-medium, rest of it, yeah. I'd stick the oxygen in the slot if I could, but... Wait, crap, I thought I traded it for the half. I didn't need the hafnium. I should have traded the oxygen for the... Okay. I wasn't thinking. And then we go to the save spot. No point in going to the rocky planet. We have more than a few options available there. So back to Cosmic Folder. And the question is just, do I want to... actually, let's go back to the Blue Giant, because in this case... we get a chance to refuel again. It does mean that we don't get to do an expedition, but I can live with that. The system contains an asteroid belt in which one of the rocks seems to be emitting light. A hidden space station, perhaps? It's very odd. Inspect. It turns out to be a military base, one that is very difficult to reach. So difficult, in fact, that its protective fields damage our hull. The captain orders a status report. Hopefully we can continue to our destination. 20 damage, Jesus. So we have the capability of repairing that if we need, but that's obviously not the sort of damage we want to be taking. And also a really good example as to why you may want to be a little more careful with the like the kinds of damage you're willing to take, or sorry, not the damage, like your risk tolerance in terms of the minimum amount before you start like doing repairs, because it's nice to have a bunch of stuff in your hold, but if in the end you potentially suffer 20 damage and you're at 19, well, game over. Okay. If I don't know the routine by this point, I need to declare Chapter 11, so... and I think in this case I'm actually going to go to the other gas giant, just because it's a chance for us to make some headway on our fuel. So, hafnium... Sure. Okay, I wasn't quite expecting that, but we netted out, so. And I actually think I'm going to do the same trick again. We got a third planet, so why not, right? We do suffer a bit of hull damage, but we can recover that on a rocky world when the time comes. We also take less hull damage than we used to because of the shields. That was me getting a bit greedy. So the question is, do I want to give up any of these others to be able to keep the fuel? And I think the answer to that is no. Okay. So back to Cosmic Folder, and we're likely going to use the drill more than anything, so I'll just prep him for the next round. And we are able to access Atlas. Atlas is a yellow dwarf, so on top of that we will have some garden worlds we can visit. Maybe not so good for hull, but definitely good for oxygen. Cool. So yeah, there is a garden world to visit, but of course I'm visiting this thing first. I am, however, going to put myself on shield generator duty. Do you see that, Nyx? What splendor! The ancients predicted the existence of Dyson spheres, but even the most advanced civilizations have been unable to complete one. It's Captain Nyx, officer. So this is the Atlas. Wonders like these are why I'll never stop roaming the galaxy. I've never seen anything so elaborate. The structure surrounds an entire star, capturing all of its energy. What an amazing feat. Let's get a better look at it. Move closer. I really like the way this looks. How incredible. The inside is lined with perfectly arranged floral gardens. Not just any gardens. These ones are 500 million times larger than the surface of any planet. But why a garden? An atlas is supposed to be a database. I don't see anywhere the data could be stored. Captain, I think I have a guess. Please share it, Officer Sergei. Information can be encoded in anything. DNA, colors, even in the scent of flowers. If this garden is indeed an atlas, then perhaps the data is inside the flowers. They die and are reborn, transmitting information as smells. And the scent, it's a very interesting theory. Smells, or something else. Wait. So that's right. Officer, a few years ago I stopped on a garden planet. Communication with the inhabitants was impossible, as they had neither eyes nor vocal organs. Eventually, our many scans provided a solution. We discovered they communicated by emitting and receiving scents. Do you think they could decipher the scents of this atlas? They had no books or engravings. They had gardens, like this one. I've never heard of such a people. Do you think we could locate a member of that race to help us? They call themselves foragers. They're rather discreet, traveling all over the galaxy in search of new smells. I couldn't tell you any more, though. Speaking of which, Captain, I wanted to talk to you about our crew, seeing as there isn't one. I fear we won't be able to capture the Archon on our own. We should gather recruits, fill our crew, as we still need a forager in order to make sense of the Atlas. Perhaps we could kill two birds with one stone. Increasing our crew would allow us to be more efficient while on expedition and during travel. You have a point, Officer Sergei. Please don't act so surprised, Captain. If I can make another observation, you should prepare a place to welcome our new recruits. Basic bunk module blueprint has been added to the database, so I'm going to have to give up space for my minerals. We found 4 iron, 1 carbon, and 2 silicon. How much you want to guess? Yep, they're going to make me build something. I don't want to give up another module. We'll probably throw away the thorium when the time comes. Each ship can accommodate a limited number of crew. Some modules allow this value to be increased. To build a regular cabin, first a storage slot must be freed up. There are several options. Disassemble a piece of technology, disassemble a module, discard resources. Are they really going to make me do this? Apparently not. Cool. I will get the bunk, but like when I have to. So, within the top 10 anime betrayals. I should probably do this sooner rather than later. Like I maybe want to think, well, yeah, okay. So what do I need thorium for? Well, repairing the shield generator for one. Also the gravitational sails, which is something that I wanted to do instead of the solar sail. um. Okay, I'm gonna decide this on another stream because this is actually not a bad place to end it as well, unless. I mean, it's possible. So it's not giving me my my list of objectives right now. But yeah, I'm going to have to make a sacrifice. But let me think on it for the next time because we're actually 45 minutes past where I wanted to end, and I have stuff that I need to get done tonight. But I'm really glad that. So I was a little worried that it was kind of quiet at the start of the stream, just because I was kind of excited to show this. I will confess I'm not 100% sure why the game is reviewed the way that it is. I'm just going to take a quick second here and see if I can see a pattern.
If I
So it looks like they're... okay. So it looks like this had an early access period. And it looks like... It also looks like some of the people who like the original think this might be a bit too easy. It's really odd to see the... Like, so I'm just reacting to the fact that the game's kind of mixed on Steam right now. So like, I don't know, like I'm enjoying this. Now I haven't tried the original out there, so like maybe I'll like that even more. But I'm quite pleasantly surprised by this. I mean, like I said, one of the big reasons why I wanted to try this out was I felt that there was sort of a bit of a similarity to Starflight, and it's maybe not as clear of a mapping as before. It does seem like there have been a few changes. Like just looking at some of the comments, it does seem like this game has changed a little bit over an early access period. So I'm curious if maybe, maybe they went in one direction and sort of decided to go differently. But again, I was pleasantly surprised. Obviously, we're not that far in the story yet, so I suspect probably once we get another crew member, we'll maybe start thinking about how we're going to take the fight to the Archon. But I am intrigued, and it'll be interesting to see how where all this goes. I'm hoping that there's interest in me continuing to play this game, because I'm certainly happy to do it a few more times. A few more times, like by which I mean like try and get to the end. But one thing I will say, just as a reminder, so this I was given a copy from the developers for, so thank you to Miklos and everybody else responsible for not just for the game, but for getting me a key. But I do just need to kind of clarify. There's quite a bit on my plate right now. So Old World, Songs of Conquest. There's actually another game which I've not played yet. I'm trying to find the time for that. And then on top of that, we do our usual brace yourself, Industries of Titan or Phantom Brigade. And then at some point, I would actually like to return to Starflight and Hand of Fate, and then a couple of other things that I've been sitting on. So I'm definitely going to be looking to see... I might try and give some priority to stuff that I think I can end more quickly. But even if Out There doesn't become a regular, like, once-a-week game, I definitely intend to come back and spend some more time in this, because I think this is interesting, and as somebody who hasn't played the original, I think this is a neat take on sort of a space exploration RPG, and whether it's intentional or not, I am getting sort of a flavor of Starflight, which is a game that I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it for its age. So it's cool to play something that's sort of modern take on a similar approach. And yeah, let me know what you thought of the game. If you want to see more of it, definitely speak up, because I'm at a point where I have a few different games all kind of competing for attention. So I will say traditionally, when I'm really pressed for stuff to play, people expressing a preference for like, I really like it when you do Old World, or I really like it when you do, Phantom Brigade. Like that does mean the difference between whether or not a certain game gets done on like a regular weekday, or if it has, gets set aside for a little while, and then I do like 2 or 3 in a row. But that is it for me. Let me just see if I can find somebody to host tonight. I'm not sure if it should be. I'm not sure who's online right now. I got to bring that all up. Sorry for the silence. I think this is a Unity thing, but well, not exclusively Unity, but it does seem for a number of games, it like losing the focus will just automatically close off the sound. Okay, sadly nobody's playing out there. Now I got a couple of people who are streaming, so I can leave it to you. We've got Outworld, who's currently streaming Mortal Kombat again. Now I have hosted him recently, so again, he's trying to get some world records for retro achievements. The other option is Valiant Cheese, who is doing some more of his development on Bone Sweeper. I'm slightly inclined towards towards hosting Valiant Cheese, but is there a preference between seeing game development or retro games being played? Otherwise, I'll just toss a coin and see who comes up. Either way, I'd love it if you'd stick around for a host, because these are a couple of good people. Game dev? Okay, cool. Cheese it is. I was slightly inclined to host Cheese anyway, because he actually got in touch with he let me know that somebody was streaming a game that we collaborated on, and it was really neat. It was actually the first time that I had seen someone who I'd not specifically primed to play that game play it. And so I was kind of so like Cheese definitely did the lion's share of the work on that, but I was responsible for sort of balancing the economy of that game. And I was delighted to see how like all of the specific traps, I might suggest, applied there. I was delighted to see how well it worked. But that's maybe a story for another time. I hope you all treat Valiant Cheese well. He is actually working on a game that is a little bit like this. So I'll maybe just mention to him, if he wants to show or give you a link to that, I'll leave that to his discretion. But Bone Sweeper is a neat game. I actually did that on stream as well. So I think you'll have a great time. And more importantly, for those of you who aspire to be game developers, Valiant Cheese is a great guy to watch, because he uses all free and open source tools, and he is very encouraging in terms of building people up and equipping them with the tools that they need to be able to make their own games. So please consider him a resource to you if you have been wanting to make games for a while. Valiant Cheese is definitely somebody who will help you get over the finish line. You got to work, but he will help you. So have a great time there, and we'll see you all Wednesday at the latest.